Hello, everybody, and welcome to GameList, a show about our Game of the Year list, 1 month at a time. I'm Jake. This is Colin. Colin, how's it going?
It's going great, man. I'm
Should we
ready to
have?
talk about video games.
You think we should have intro music? If you're hearing intro music right now, spoiler alert for how this conversation goes. What do you think?
Um, yes, we kind of have intro music on the audio version.
That is also true, but not on the video version. I mean, it's the same
Yeah.
music every time. I was thinking video game music, and we could just change up what it is and maybe try to have it be like in conjunction with what we talk about. But
Mm-hmm.
it's a tough call. If you're watching the video version, we have a little animation now, opening graphic, which is pretty sweet. See, there's little bonuses. If you're listening to the audio, you might get a little bit here or there. If you're looking at the video,
Yeah.
you might get a little here or there. You never know. That's why you need to be subscribed on all platforms. Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, podcast feed, Instagram,
OnlyFans.
you name it. We're there. Feed
Yeah,
stuff all over the
Actually,
place.
you mentioning the intro music, like I do change the intro music for our spoil lists when we do
That's
that.
true.
I will put the game of choice music.
Yeah,
as the
that's a
intro
nice
and
touch.
outro.
Spoilers, which we have
Um,
one of, Outer Wilds, which, spoiler alert, we're going to talk a
Mhm.
little tiny bit about Outer Wilds, because we're recording this on September 15th, the release date of Outer Wilds on PS5 and Xbox Series S and X.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. This is your last
Yeah.
opportunity. If you're going to play that right now, when you finish it, listen to our spoil list. It's fucking awesome. I'm proud of that conversation. And we got another one coming up soon, too. We're doing Final
Yes.
Fantasy VII. We got a lot to talk about today. So first of all, we are unhinged already, but we have a mega-sized episode of GameList. We're probably going to be here for 3 hours talking about video games. And we're going to just kind of go off the rails, I think.
My dog said, "Oh, you guys are starting to record. I'm gonna get all up in your business and knock your desk around and shake
It's
your
the Corbin
camera, and
way.
turn
That's
your
what he
chair."
does. That's what he does.
It's
So
too cute to get mad at, though.
the last things that we should talk about is we just plugged all of those social networks and didn't give our tag. It's
Yeah.
at GameList Show, obviously,
Mhm.
is where to find us.
Mhm.
But let's do a little bit of table setting right now for what this episode is going to look like. We have massive updates for our Game of the Year list, each of us. We've both played things that have made our list, and there's some stuff that we are super passionate about. So we'll get to what we
Very.
usually play. And there's also been an onslaught of gaming news and events that we're recapping. We did reactions to a couple things, both on our personal and on the GameList page. For GameList, we reacted to the PlayStation State of Play and the Ubisoft Forward event. We'll recap those here today. Since then, there has also been the Disney and Marvel Games Showcase. There has been the Nintendo Direct, which was massive. We're going to dig into that in a very, very big way. Among other regular gaming news that's happened as well, Embracer Group has picked up a ton of fucking things. Activision and Microsoft are fighting with Sony. Too much to even name. Gamescom opening night live happened. I feel like the best way to do this episode, we typically structure things in the way that we go like, hey, what you been playing, is what I ask. And I want to just kind of go crazy. We have like 65 slides worth of topics that we want to cover today. So let me just ask you what you're most excited to talk about today. Anything.
It's probably a mix between the Assassin's Creed news
Okay.
and Destiny 2.
Okay, well, I'm nixing Destiny 2. You can save that for mid-show. That's not how we open this thing up. But you can
Okay,
tell the people, you've been hooked, right?
Yeah, I'm hooked, and we'll talk more later, and he'll have to cut me off because I won't stop talking, probably.
That I will.
But yeah, probably the Assassin's Creed news is my favorite.
I'm cool talking about Assassin's Creed as long as after that you're cool about just jumping straight into the Nintendo Direct, because I'm really excited about a lot of the stuff that happened there as well. So let's just jump into the Ubisoft Forward that took place. So the fastest way to do this is Ubisoft Forward showed off a lot of things that were not Assassin's Creed based. So they jumped in and they opened the show with Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope, which not much for new information there. They showed off a boss fight with Wiggler, which looked really slick, and they also announced their DLC pack, which is to me a little bit underwhelming. You remember what the DLC pack was?
It was Rayman, right?
Rayman. So they did this with the
Yeah.
original Mario and Rabbids, where they had a substantial DLC with an additional character last time. It was Donkey Kong last time around, which is a pretty hot ticket. I'm not sure if Rayman hits those highs, but it is kind of cool to see things come full circle with Rayman because he was the original. He's how the Rabbids exist in the first place. So nice to see
Wait,
them.
really?
Yeah, the original Rabbids introduction was for the Wii. It was Rayman Raving Rabbids, and they were like this new wacky character that were kind of like, I think, inspired by the popularity of Minions at the time, where they were like, Minions are popular, people love Despicable Me, let's have a little wacky mascot thing jump into the Rayman worlds. And then since then, the Raving Rabbids kind of became their own popular thing and spun off from Mario, from Rayman.
Interesting. I feel like remembering when I was a kid, around like the Wii time, there was like some sort of like Disney like TV show or something that was a Rabbids show. And
Hmm.
that's the first time I ever saw the Rabbids. I could be just dreaming this up because it was
It's
so long
possible.
ago.
I don't know.
Um,
Nothing
but
that I
yeah,
can
I
think
didn't
of.
know what the origin of Rabbids were.
Yeah, Rayman Raving Rabbids 1 and 2 for Wii, they were like party games. Somewhere between like a Wii Play and like Mario Party. Like, not the games weren't as complex as Wii Play, but they were more complex than like a Mario Party minigame. Popular stuff, but outside of that, they did a lot of announcements and updates on their existing games like Riders Republic and the Division 2. They announced the Division Heartland. You care anything about that?
Not particularly. I really like Division 2, but this feels like, I don't know, not like it's like a half sequel, right?
Yeah.
The messaging on it is weird. I initially thought it was a mobile game.
It's a free to play spin-off basically of the Division.
Yeah.
So they're sort of rebranding a little bit. It's a standalone game. It's not a battle royale, although it maybe will include a battle royale option. It all kind of remains to be seen. There was gameplay shown. It didn't look all that interesting to either of us. We are kind of focused on what we like around here, so we're not going to spend too much
Yeah.
time on the Division. After they got through, yeah.
How long do you think it's going to be until people quit including battle royales and everything?
A long time.
Okay,
A long time. Yeah.
that sucks.
Yeah, when Fortnite's not popular anymore, maybe. But as of right now, it's still, when it's not there, people clamor for it, and when it's there, people fucking shrug it off. It's like with Halo.
They should have spent this time developing the main game.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
We'll get to Halo later in the show. They've been fucking screwing the pooch left and right too. But after Ubisoft, they did like 45 minutes or so on their existing games and all the stuff that's on their like slate that's coming up, and then they jumped into a show within a show, which was the Assassin's Creed showcase. And honestly, I think it kind of delivered. Talk to me about Assassin's Creed Mirage, my friend.
Yeah, so Assassin's Creed Mirage, the main protagonist is actually a character from Valhalla. This game is set about 20 years before Valhalla, and you'll be playing as Basim or Basim, however you want to pronounce it. So you are going to be in Baghdad. Baghdad's the city, right?
Baghdad is the city.
Yeah, Baghdad. And it's going to be more of a return to form for Assassin's Creed. It's going to be social stealth, dense cities, one-hit assassinations, popping your hidden blades out in crowds and stuff like that. So it's a very exciting game because the last game that we got in that vein was Syndicate, and that was forever ago. But Mirage is actually it's not a full price game. It's a $50 game.
I was surprised to see that. It seemed like it was being pitched as full price, and it does appeal to me more, to be honest.
Yeah, and because it was originally going to be a DLC for Valhalla, and then it just kind of spun out and became more than like a lot of things do now. They become larger than they were originally planned for, and they sell them as their own game. I'm excited for this. I will absolutely be playing this and getting the platinum on it, as I do all the Assassin's Creed games.
It looks good. My biggest problem with Assassin's Creed has been I've enjoyed the time that I spent with the last two of them, I guess, Valhalla and Odyssey, but both of them I burnt out on like 30 hours in. I mean, I probably put in 40 hours to Odyssey and 20 hours into Valhalla, and I barely scratched the surface of those games because I just kind of couldn't stick with them. If this game is telling me that it's going to be of the same quality but a more absorbable piece of media, I'm extremely interested. And it does look like Assassin's Creed returning to its roots. It looks, I don't know. If when I look at this game, I think like Assassin's Creed 1 as far
Yeah,
as like the
I can see
aesthetic
that.
goes. It
I
looks
get
super
heavy,
traditional.
yeah, I get heavy Revelations vibes from
Mm-hmm.
this.
Yep.
Just because he was in Constantinople and Revelations and whatnot. But I'm very excited about it. And like Valhalla's probably a low point in the series for me.
Sure.
I put 100 hours into that game, and by like the 30th, it was just very boring.
Yeah.
Because you're just doing the same thing over and over again. But I have faith. I'm excited. I'll always buy Assassin's Creeds.
Sure.
So,
Well,
and it's also good that they're not doing like annual releases anymore.
I got bad news for somebody that will continue to buy all the Assassin's Creeds because they did not stop announcing Assassin's Creed. That's for sure.
Yeah.
They went from worth noting that not annual indeed because this game is not making it for 2022, which was surprising as fuck to me.
Well, and Valhalla was 2020.
Yeah,
They've already had a year off. Yeah.
pretty crazy. But that didn't stop them from announcing the future of Assassin's Creed. There were a couple things that they brought up, but I think most notably, and the thing that had the most substance to it was probably Assassin's Creed Codename Red. What did you see?
Yeah, I saw a game that I've already played called Ghost of Tsushima.
A lot of people saying that, yeah.
And I'm excited. I'm gonna buy it. People have been wanting this game for as long as I can remember playing Assassin's Creed. So I'm totally into it. But I think you're gonna notice like a theme. There's actually quite a bit of games that are like feudal Japan based.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about a couple of them today.
Yeah, so I'm into it. I don't know if the market's getting a little saturated on feudal Japan.
Sure.
But I mean, really, all we have is like a 2-second trailer.
Yeah,
but I'm
it's
excited
not
for
impressive.
it.
But it's also the start of Assassin's Creed Infinity. Is that correct?
Infinity, yes.
Yeah,
it is.
So that is like the new upcoming hub for all things Assassin's Creed. They want to make a platform where you have a single entry point for all the Assassin's Creed games that come out. So after Mirage comes out, it'll be the last standalone Assassin's Creed game. Everything else will take place in that, I guess, shared universe. How do you see Assassin's Creed Infinity playing out?
I see them putting 3 games on Assassin's Creed Infinity and then abandoning it because it's not doing
You think
well.
so?
Yeah, something like
That's
that.
a hot take from an Assassin's Creed fan.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like if they have it all on a platform, I'm not entirely sure how physical sales will work with that. I mean, I guess you could sell. I don't know. And we really, it's very blurry messaging on what the platform is going to be right now. So pretty much all I can think of is it's going to be a launcher with. It's going to be a game that's also a launcher for other games.
Yep. Yeah, that's the gist that I'm getting as well. Interesting to announce it this way. The thing is, it's been rumored for a long time. They've talked about it already. They gave a bunch of. That'll be another theme today. Is announcing games before they have fucking titles. Nobody's excited to talk about Assassin's Creed Codename Red. Oh yeah, my most anticipated game is Codename Red.
Just give it a name.
Project
How
Scorpio.
Hard is it?
I know.
I mean.
It wasn't the only game to get a code name. In fact, it was just one of 3. The second one is also an Assassin's Creed Infinity title. What is it? Hex or Hexe? Hexe?
Hexe. Sure. Hexe. This is my favorite one. Actually, this is the one I'm most excited about. It's
also the one they showed the least of.
Also the one they showed the least of. So you can actually see in the picture on the video version right now if you're watching. There are like runes, and there's like a, I don't want to say like satanic emblem, but it's like a occult emblem. I think that's the best word to use is occult. And people have decoded those emblems, like those symbols on there. And pretty much we have figured out that it's going to take place in, like Germany in like the 600s, I think, while they were doing their witch trials.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so one of those words in a circle around that emblem is Mephisto. So it's going to be dealing with like I'm guessing like occult deities and whatnot.
Interesting.
That will take place as like the Isu gods and whatnot.
Yeah.
So this is supposed to be like a very different tone of game. So I hope it's kind of like scary and dark.
It's wild that they are basically the feedback was like, we want traditional Assassin's Creed, and then they said, all right, here's Mirage, but also the next two are going to be fucking bonkers,
Yeah.
because they're not traditional Assassin's Creeds whatsoever. But I think exciting. It's cool to see them try something new, something a little bit different. You thought we were done with our code names, but I assure you, we are not. There was one last Assassin's Creed codename Jade. Now this is a mobile game, right?
Correct.
We can be brief.
It's a yeah. I'm not
Takes
super
place
excited
in
for this one.
China though, right?
China, yeah, China. I'm not super excited about this one. It's a mobile game, and it's
Yeah.
like it looked big open world, like
Mhm.
Odyssey open world from the trailer. I don't know. I don't know if it's free to play. They didn't say, did they?
No, they didn't actually.
I would imagine it's gonna have to be free to play with
It's
some sort of
gotta be, right?
monetization within.
Yeah, because it's a tough sell. You can't really
Um,
sell that game for like $25 and just expect a bunch of people to jump
Yeah,
in. I'm
yeah,
not sure.
and I bet what's gonna happen is there was, if you remember Assassin's Creed Liberation, that was a PSP game,
Yeah,
PS Vita
correct.
game,
PS Vita,
and
that's right.
it
Came
didn't
out
do very
alongside
well.
Assassin's Creed 3, I think.
Yeah, yeah, it didn't do very well, and then they were like, you know what, we're just gonna port it to consoles,
That's right.
and it was lacking quite a bit. I've played it and platinumed it, of course. But I kind of see this happening to Jade. Is it kind of failing on launch and then them porting it over to console one day?
Yeah, not
Hmm.
unreasonable. Not unreasonable thoughts. Overall, how do you rank that Assassin's Creed? The
I'd
Assassin's
give it
Creed
like a
showcase or
solid.
whatever.
That's like a solid 8. Like that's the most Assassin's Creed news we've ever gotten at one time. Because normally they just announce them 1 year at a time. Um, I remember the Valhalla reveal was the most boring reveal ever. It was like an 8-hour stream of Boss Logic drawing a picture or like
That's
using
right.
Photoshop. And I watched that entire stream and I was like, oh my God, what's it going to be? And I was like, oh, it's Vikings. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's Vikings. And then another 4 hours later, they like pasted in Valhalla. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
that's the worst reveal ever. But yeah, I'm very excited.
Fairly. I don't know. I think it was impressive how much they were willing to share. I think that it is another classic. For a long time, people are going to be hungry for information on these, and they're
Yeah.
not going to have anything new to share. So we're going to be talking about this stupid code name whatever for the next God knows how
Hmm.
long, to the point of us being really sick about talking about it until it comes out or they show something substantial. So I don't know. It's nice to get
Yeah.
that instant gratification, but by the time we are actually playing Assassin's Creed Hexe, I'm going to be like, this fucking game from 2022 finally ready to
Yeah.
show its face in 2025. Here we go.
Yeah, I would almost guarantee I will be graduated from pharmacy school before we see Red or Hexe.
Yeah, that's perfect. You can buy it for me. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, yeah, I got it for you, bro. Hey, you still owe me $5 from that bet on
That is true.
stream.
That is true. All right. So Assassin's Creed is what you were most excited about. You can guess what I was most excited about. Nintendo Direct season, baby. So I think it's really interesting to talk about the announcement of the Direct, which happened 24 hours before it was actually taking place, which was earlier this week in mid-September here. And on the
Yeah.
heels of it, Sony said, but hey, wait, us too. We got a state of play. And they announced one like 4 hours later for 6 hours later
Yeah.
the next day. So all of a
Yeah.
sudden it turned into like E3 in September. All the big companies started showcasing stuff, but let me tell you, Nintendo came to play, and if you ask me, they've got the most impressive showing. But they're the only ones that really did like a whole flagship
Yeah,
look at what we
they did
have
like
to
a
show.
full show.
Yes, they did. And most notably, I can finally say on GameList, instead of comparing things to the sequel to
Wait,
The
wait, wait, wait,
Legend
wait,
of
wait,
Zelda.
wait. You can't say the name. You can't say the name.
No, that's an old bet. We're already there.
No, the Queen.
Oh, that's okay. It wasn't aired in the UK. This is new for our UK followers. We're breaking the
Sorry,
news.
guys.
You'll get your direct next week, but The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, has been officially revealed with a release date. It's coming May 12th of 23, which I think we were expecting to see this game in some form. I think we were probably expecting a title because we've expected a title for the last year and a half on this game. We got the title and they went one further and said this is when you can get it. What do you think? Does it make it for the May release date? Or does it get delayed
Yes.
again? It makes
Yeah,
it.
I think so.
It makes
Unless
it.
another great monarch dies or during May, and
Don't
they
speak
delay
too
it
soon.
because we don't
never
like
know.
deaths.
No.
Okay, it's literally so funny. I mean, it's sad, but it's also funny that the
Yeah.
reason they did not show this in the UK is because it's named Tears of the Kingdom, because the Queen just died. Like that. What are the chances, man?
Yeah, it is unfortunate timing, that's for sure. But the trailer was pretty nice. A short trailer. Could have been longer. But
Yeah.
nonetheless, cool to see Zelda in action. Cool to get that title reveal. Nice to not have to call it the sequel to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Great to have a release date. Obviously, if you're looking for a deep dive on this, go find a YouTuber with no life who can take a 1.5-minute trailer and turn it into a 3-hour discussion. That's not us. Game look good. Game look cool. We excite. That's the game list extent of things.
I'm gonna say it on GameList so I can have it on the record, me saying this, so people have something to hate me for. If Breath of the Wild was published by Ubisoft, if it said a Ubisoft original above The Legend of Zelda, it would get 8s, bro. Like, I like The Legend of Zelda. It's a good game. I like Breath of the Wild.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and that does it for this week's episode of Game List.
I don't think it's the best game ever made. People blow Nintendo games out of the water.
I get it. I think it is really, really good. I think if it was a Ubisoft original, people would say 9.5 out of 10, and it's the best Ubisoft game that's ever come out.
Nah.
I know that probably makes you
think
feel
so.
bad, but I think it is. I think it's special. I think it does a lot of stuff right, and I think that this sequel is likely poised. I think that it'll suffer a bit, but also benefit from the same thing. I think that people will say, well, it's just more of the same, which it will be. It's going to have a lot of that same DNA of Breath of the Wild, and there has been 5 or 6 years in between the two games. So it's going to have that tiny like tinge of, we've kind of seen this thing before, but I think what they're hinting at is there's 7 emblems at the very beginning of this. It looks like we're going to get 7 actual Zelda dungeons, which will be a nice addition to the existing like shrine gameplay of Breath of the Wild. I think there will be enough new for this to be arguably the perfect video game.
Well,
I really think it's going to hit.
You've said it's been what, 7 years? 5 years?
I think it'll end up being 6 years from day and date.
I just want to see how they manage to make that 5-year gap like feel like something has evolved. You know?
Yeah, I think we're gonna see it.
I hope so. But
I'll play it. The coolest thing that we saw in like Zelda was like, and this is something that like the Ubisoft games don't have. That game did was it created like a sandbox of ways to solve interactions, whether that was like a puzzle that was laid out in front of you via a shrine or a battle with 7 different enemies in the environment in front of you. They gave you all of these tools that were not only your equipment but ways to alter the environment and time around you, and I think that they're going to go to the nines with that, whether it's through traversal or for new like effects or abilities that you get. It looks like they're playing with time. They're obviously playing with altitude. I think that there's going to be some gaming moments and some gaming mechanics in this game that are still ready to blow some minds, and I think it's foolish to doubt. That's
okay, one question, and we'll wrap it up on Tears of the Kingdom. Is Link going to get Samus at the very beginning, where he loses all of his powers that he gained from the previous game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think
I think so.
I think despite it being a sequel, you know, you got to think of it from like the perspective of like the first one came out and kids were 7 years old, those kids are now 13, 14 years old, which is like prime Zelda playing age. They didn't have that first game. You can't assume that everybody has played the first one, so you can't just start them out like you're halfway through like a video game or anything like that. You gotta have that reset, and it's like, it's a classic. I mean, God of War 2, the same thing happens. Like, you spawn and you have like your first mission where you have all your abilities, and then by the end of that boss fight, they're all taken away from you and you have to start fresh. Standard video game trope, and you have to do it in some way just to give people the tutorial that they deserve so that they can break their way into the game. So I think in some fashion, yeah, that'll likely happen.
I agree.
Moving on in the Direct actually didn't open. It closed with Zelda, but it's obviously the big title. For me, I think the most hype that I got was actually for Fire Emblem Engage. Are you a Fire Emblem dude?
I'm a Fire Emblem Three Houses dude. I've never played any of the others.
I'm a Fire Emblem dude. So I'm a Fire Emblem guy from way back. The first Fire Emblem that I played was on Game Boy Advance when I was a kid, and it was just called Fire Emblem. Now, it was just the first one that made it from Japan over to the US, so I think it's like technically Fire Emblem like Blazing Blade or something like that. It's like the 5th or 6th one that came out in Japan. But it was the first one that I played, and then I played the Sacred Stones, which was the sequel to that. I played the DS ones that came out. I played the Wii and the GameCube ones, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. I play Fire Emblem to different extents all the time. I've probably beat 3 or 4 of them. I crushed at least 2 of the stories in Three Houses, and I adored it. And I really liked the changes for Three Houses. Some of the things that they did with like the third-person stuff in the castle and the relationship building added to the gameplay loop in a really, really big way. I loved having that calendar. And Fire Emblem Engage looks like it's firing on all cylinders and bringing back a lot of the stuff that we liked from not only that game, but from a lot of other games, including some fan-favorite characters. Yes, Marth. Why did you like Three Houses?
Well, it was my first, like, turn-based action strategy. Is that the genre that it's in, I guess?
Yeah, a turn-based strategy game.
Yeah, it was, I loved it. It's probably my favorite game on Switch. And I really enjoyed like the management sim part of it with your classroom and like building relationships with people. I adored that game. And I'm just curious how that management and relationship building aspect is going to carry over into this game.
Yeah. Do you think it's called Engage because you're going to get to marry somebody?
Yeah.
I
mean, I don't think that's why it's called Engaged, but
we'll
you're definitely
see.
gonna be able to marry
Time will
somebody.
tell. Fire Emblem Engaged.
Marth and Pepsi Boy literally yelled "Engage"
I
in
love
the
Pepsi,
trailer.
Man. Do you like the design of this main character? It's divisive.
No.
People love it. People hate it. I love it. I love it.
I don't
But
like
maybe
it at
that's
all.
because I like toothpaste. I gathered some names
I
from the
don't.
internet of what people have been calling him: Pepsi Hair, Aquafresh Protagonist, Colgate-chan, Toothpaste Kun, Joy-Con Head. They're all pretty good. People are ragging on his hairstyle. I rather like it.
Yeah.
There's also, you can do a male or female protagonist, and the female's hair is wild too because it's super long, and there's like even more differential in the red and blue. It is abrasive to say the least. But
I will probably play as the female. I did see somebody did like a mock-up of how the hair would look depending on the color of your Joy-Con.
and
I really liked it. Yeah, it would be really cool if it changed because on your Joy-Cons, because I've got the white ones for the OLED, and it would actually make his hair look somewhat tolerable.
Yeah, I get that. I think the game is pretty cool, and I think it's doing some pretty unique things for the series. It's got some sort of team up thing, which we'll talk a little bit about Xenoblade. We're going to talk a lot about Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and this is kind of a concept lifted directly from that, where you can have 2 characters team up and make like a mega unit, which I think is a cool gameplay element to include. And it looks like there's some sort of, they have some scenes where you're actually in the, I don't know, what do you call like the castle area, like the social hub, I guess? Would you agree to those terms?
In Three Houses?
For Engage, yeah, the same sort of thing. Like you're not at a school.
Oh
It
yeah,
looks like
I
you're in
guess
some
so.
sort of castle land. And
Yeah,
Marth
something
is
like
there, standing there, just like a regular NPC or a party member would, but he has that blue hue to him, like he's like clearly summoned from another world. It's interesting. Some of the information on this game was allegedly leaked. I don't know how widely reported it was because a lot of people thought it was a fake leak. It was one of those things where it popped up a couple months ago. Everyone was like, "Yeah, dude, they're not gonna have a two-colored hair person, and Martha's not coming back for another game. That's not a remake." Come to find out, they were
R.I.P.
right.
Marth.
And some of the things that they talked about were this game initially being developed as like a big anniversary game at first, before it becoming its own full video game where it's like an original story. So I think the initial plan was to have it be like Marth and Roy and Lucina and Ike and like all of like your mainstays from the past games coming back to play. So I think right now we're seeing just a couple returning characters, Marth, and I think there was like a character from Echoes that popped up. My guess is that this game gets a little bit of that Smash Brothers type of rollout, where in between now and its release date, which was announced, it's coming out October 20th. So a pretty fast turnaround. That game will be out in 4 months.
Wow.
Yeah, really exciting.
Wow.
I think that they will have every Nintendo event or every Fire Emblem trailer, they're going to show off another character. They're going to have Roy pop up and people are going to go nuts for it. They're going to have Ike pop up and people are going to go nuts for it. And I think that they will eventually lead up to, if not in the base game as DLC, you'll be able to get all of your people from Three Houses. You'll be able to get your Byleth and your Edelgard.
See, that's what I was thinking. Like, I want Byleth. I really liked Byleth, even though he was a silent protagonist.
Yeah.
But then I was thinking, like, Byleth, if he comes in and he's a silent protagonist, he or she, I guess.
Yep.
Like everybody else has conversations, and Byleth is just standing there, like, silent, absolutely nothing.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they could give him a voice now at this point, or her voice.
Yeah,
but I think
and
the game looks good, man.
it does, and I'll be playing. Like, I think I'm just kind of sad this isn't a sequel to Three Houses. I think that's
That
why
exists. It's called
initially-
Three Hopes, and it's a Warriors game.
Yeah, I don't like Warriors games.
Yeah, I get that.
So maybe that's on me, but
Me either, really, but I still end up playing them a lot. I would like to go back and check that out because I know it has, from what I understand, is that is a really worthwhile sequel to Three Houses, and it's got a lot of that same social stuff built into the hub world.
yeah,
it just has like
evidently
different
it's like
gameplay.
it's an alternate dimension where Byleth is the bad guy.
I think so, yeah. And you play like, because it takes spoilers for Three Houses, which is like 3 or 4 years old at this point. If you haven't played it yet, cover your ears and look away for 15 seconds. It takes place in between the time jump, and that time jump doesn't play out the same way, to my understanding.
Okay.
So
Okay.
there is like a gap of
Maybe I
time
should
that's
play it.
missing. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think that's a game like worth picking up for $40 if it's on sale. Giving it a go.
Okay.
There's a demo
Last
for
question. What is your house in Three Houses?
it too. The blue one, Dimitri, and more importantly, Dedue.
Dude, you can't even remember its name?
The Blue
Black
Lions.
Eagles for life, dude.
I thought you were an
Edelgard?
Edelgard simp.
I am. Black Eagles
Edelgard's
is
not from
Edelgard's
Black
house.
Eagles. No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
She's red.
Yes.
Edelgard's red.
The house is called Black Eagles, but the color is red and black.
That's stupid. That should tell you enough
Because-
that you've made the wrong decision. Then what's the other one? That's
No.
yellow?
It's like Golden Lion or something, or Golden
No, Blue
Stag.
Lions. Gold Stag
Golden-
sounds right.
Oh my god, I've got to look this up.
You look it up.
because
You
I
look it
need
up.
to know.
I think I'm really interested in this. I think the thing about this Fire Emblem leak that we should talk about real quick, just before we move off the topic of Fire Emblem, is that alongside this leak, in addition to this Fire Emblem Engage, was also mention of a Fire Emblem remake coming on the heels of it. So Fire Emblem 4, which was, I believe, a Nintendo or a Super Nintendo game and has never come to America before, is allegedly the next Fire Emblem project, and it's well along its development cycle, which is pretty exciting. Pretty cool.
It is the Blue Lions, the Black Eagles with Edelgard. Their
Wow.
color's technically red, even though they're called the Black Eagles.
Foolish.
And then the Golden Deer, not the Golden Stag.
Got it.
Deer.
Got it.
Yeah.
Blue Lions, baby.
Edelgard, baby.
Number one. All right. The Nintendo Direct had more to offer than just that. The list keeps on going. Our king, fellow of Nintendo, Shigeru Miyamoto, took the stage to talk to us about Pikmin Bloom for 5 minutes, a game that's been out for a year and is not very successful, essentially begging us to play it and telling us how good it was, and everybody was losing their minds. They were like, how is this what he's talking about? But don't worry, the man made good. At the end of the Pikmin Bloom spiel, he finally showed up and said Pikmin 4 is coming, and he said some really interesting stuff, like, I also made a new shirt, and showed us the shirt that he was wearing, which is just
I saw that
big P on it. It's rad. I don't know why he focused on that, and I don't know where I can get that shirt, but if you know, please leave it in the comments so I can immediately purchase it. But
I'm sure
showed
it's
off
on Etsy by now.
I know. I want that official Nintendo seal of quality. I've had that thing since the 80s, maybe. I need it. Really slim as far as the trailer goes for Pikmin 4, but he did give away some details which were super interesting. He mentioned simplifying the control scheme, and he mentioned this concept that they're calling Dandori, which is not like an existing Japanese word. I looked it up. Dandori is a focus on strategically planning and deploying and commanding Pikmin from the Pikmin's perspective. So instead of playing from like a top-down view like you have in the previous Pikmin games, you might be down like low on the ground as if you were playing as a Pikmin, which is interesting, and it's cool that they're changing up the format. I think Pikmin has always been a cult classic, but I don't think that the game has ever been as successful as Nintendo wants it to be, nor as successful as the people that are passionate about it think that it is. And I think that they're still waiting for that big breakthrough game, and that perhaps Pikmin 4 will be the one. So time will tell. I'm really excited about it. Cool to see Miyamoto out there. Terrible to watch your heroes age, but hey, that's life, isn't it? Still pretty cool. Any Pikmin history, any interest whatsoever?
No.
Well, don't worry, because
No.
you'll surely be interested in Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. I don't have much to say about this. This is a port of a Wii game. The Wii game was above average, but not great. It is coming out February 24th of next year. I don't think it'll be a full price game. This game deserves to be $39.99. It looks bad as far as graphical quality goes, but it's a fun side-scrolling Kirby platformer that is a like actual sequel to Nightmare in Dreamland, which is one of the best Kirby games of all time. So cool that they're giving us that offer, and it's crazy that it's already been it'll have been almost a year when that game comes out, which is pretty impressive in between that and Forgotten Land. But outside of that, we got some crazy details for the Nintendo 64 catalog expanding in a very big way. Now, this is pretty exciting. They announced Mario Party 1, 2, 3, Excite Bike 64, 1080 Snowboarding, Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2, and Pilot Wings 64, all coming to the Nintendo 64, the NSO, Nintendo Switch Online expansion pass, basically. They announced dates, not quite dates, but they said that Mario Party 1, 2, and Pilot Wings, I believe, are all coming out this year, so they're sticking to that monthly schedule. We'll get an October, a November, and a December game, and then the rest of the games will filter out after that. But then they hit us with the stinger, and they told us that in addition, Goldeneye is coming out for Nintendo Switch Online, and it's going to have online multiplayer. Now, Goldeneye precedes you as a human, right?
Yes, it does.
That's okay. That's okay. You are forgiven. I am interested to see how this plays out. GoldenEye is a really big deal to a lot of gamers my age. It was the first time that a first-person shooter made it to a console with split-screen multiplayer, basically. It was like the big coming out party for that whole genre of games. The popularity of, like, I would say, like, it's tough to call it like all first-person shooters, because like at this point Counter-Strike is already in existence. There are a bunch of games like Doom and Wolfenstein have been around for years. Like PCs have already had first-person shooters, but the idea of like split-screen multiplayer with your friends on Friday night at a sleepover type of thing didn't exist until GoldenEye. So I feel like the games like Halo, those big split-screen games from back in the day, owe a lot to GoldenEye, and it has a fond place in a lot of people's hearts. The only problem is if you've played GoldenEye in the last 15 years, game don't hold up. Looks real bad. Controls like dog shit. So I'm wondering if they're going to do anything to fix it up. It had a single control stick, the Nintendo 64, if you remember correctly, and you controlled the camera with the fucking C stick. The C buttons. It was a single analog controller, so it was like forward, back, and then look left, right. There was no strafe or anything like that. A real pain in the ass to control, but it'll be interesting to see if they do anything to glitz it up or if it's just going to be a faithful port of GoldenEye. And then on the heels, did you see Rare's tweets?
Yeah, they're making like a remastered GoldenEye for Xbox.
Not even. It's all really weird the way that they announced it. So they're bringing it to Xbox with 4K resolution, which I don't think means that they're remastering it all. It sounds like it's just being like upscaled. So it's still going to look like complete dog shit. But it's worth noting that there's no online play mentioned for the Xbox version. That's going to be exclusive to Nintendo. It's very strange.
So bad in 4K. Like, it was not
terrible.
built for 4K. Like, it's going to look better on the Switch than it is on the Xbox.
Yeah. I think what we're going to run into here is that people are going to realize once this comes out that GoldenEye is best as a memory and not as a current game, unfortunately, which is sad, but that's the way that the world works, man. Sometimes...
I did play Quantum Solace on the PS2, if that counts.
That must not have been very good.
It wasn't. It was very bad.
Yeah, there's been good GoldenEye games since. It's just not that one, that's for sure. They made a sequel to GoldenEye back in the day called GoldenEye Rogue Agent, which is also not very good. But there's been there's still a GoldenEye, another GoldenEye game. There's a Bond game in the works.
007.
Yeah, there's a
that's right, with IO.
IO, the people behind Hitman, who have had huge success with that. So I think that's maybe the more exciting thing that's coming out of that franchise right now. But speaking of things to be excited,
they should have called the sequel to GoldenEye Golden Eyes.
Damn, you right. All right, go off, King. Tell us about Octopath Traveler 2.
Octopath Traveler 2 should have been called Octopath Travelers.
Someone hire this man.
I'm actually really excited for this. I love the first game. I will admit I've never finished the first game.
Sure.
It's very long, like very long. It's like 8 full-length JRPGs in one game. But it's very good. It's the game that developed the HD 2D look.
Yeah.
I guess pioneered, not developed.
Credit where credit is due.
Yeah, so this is the second one. Of course, Octopath, there's going to be 8 protagonists that you can pick from. Each of their initials ends up with the letters OCTOPATH. Again. Yeah, so it's going to spell Octopath with their initials again.
There's Oswald right there.
Yeah, and Throne.
What a time to be alive.
Yeah, so the setting of this one is what interests me. It's got a little bit more color than the first one. You can even see just the color in the like key art.
It's slick looking.
And the setting is like it's kind of, I want to say, like industrial revolution type, like Victorian era,
which is the same as the first Octopath, right?
Well, it was a little further back. It was like a little more primitive than the Victorian era. I don't know. I love these games. If you're a JRPG guy or girl, I think you would really enjoy them.
Sure.
They're beautiful. They just, I don't know, they managed to bring old graphics into the modern era in just a wonderful way.
It's what I was saying where credit is due on Octopath is like they nailed that aesthetic and it has taken off in a big way. And I think that, I mean, obviously like the Live Alive remaster that I've been passionate about this year owes a lot of its DNA to this Octopath Traveler 1. There's the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake. There are people clamoring for Final Fantasy remakes in this art style. They hit the fucking ball out of the park on this thing. And Octopath 2 is no slouch when it comes to visuals. The game looks fantastic. You can tell that these are the masters of this, new visual method of making games, coming back to show us how it's done once again, because it is fucking pretty.
And I could be wrong, but I'm 99% sure the team that made this game is also, I mean, it's the Octopath 1 team, the Triangle Strategy team, and they also made Live Alive. Mm-hmm. It's the same team within Square, so they are just pumping stuff out, and all of it is very good.
Square in general is pumping stuff out lately. I mean,
Yes,
they've
absolutely.
always kind of done that, but the amount of video games that you can just say that Square Enix is working on right now, and they have Valkyrie something, they
Elysium?
have Harvestella, they have just a ridiculous amount of stuff that is coming out at all times, and that's not even including like the flagship stuff that everybody is excited about. Things
Yep.
like, oh, I'm transitioning. Do you have anything else to say about Octopath?
Oh, nothing. Continue.
Perfect, because Square Enix showed up in a very big way and gave Daddy his sweets. Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. You know how excited I am. Listen, buddy, we talked about this. We talked about having our spoil list. We had a bet a long time ago where if I won, we would be able to do a spoil list on Final Fantasy VII Remake and Integrate, which would involve Kaulin playing Integrate for the first time and us talking about that story, the story of the original Final Fantasy VII, the story of Final Fantasy VII Remake, all kind of leading up to the hype train on Crisis Core. And when this game was announced last year, they announced Crisis Core and Rebirth for the Final Fantasy 35th anniversary, Final Fantasy VII anniversary event, basically. And what they did is they pitched Crisis Core Reunion and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is Remake Part 2, for winter, for this winter and next winter. And everybody assumed that that meant March again, because the last one was slated for March and ended up slipping into April because of COVID. Somehow, they announced Crisis Core Reunion, and it's coming out this fucking year. It's coming out really, really soon. It'll be out on December 13th. So hype mode engage. Tell me about your history or excitement levels for Crisis Core. Do they exist?
No history. Excitement level 6.
Oh,
It's not that I'm not excited for it. I just don't know that much about the gameplay because I know it's different from Final Fantasy VII Remake.
yeah.
So I'm gonna have to kind of see it in action
It's gonna be
before I can really
much more
decide.
similar to like Final Fantasy VII Original, somewhere between 7 Original and I guess 7 Remake. The visuals
Yeah.
much closer to Final Fantasy VII Remake than Final Fantasy VII, that's for sure. But it's a really interesting fighting system that I think a lot of people are going to appreciate. Not many people got to play it the first time around. It is a port of a PSP game technically, but obviously with a shiny coat of paint. It looks really, really good, and it looks even better now with the launch trailer. They showed like a 60 or 90-second trailer during the Nintendo Direct and announced the release date for it for the Nintendo Switch. Square Enix then went separately and threw up a 2.5-minute trailer for the release date for all systems, all consoles. It's December 13th for everything, and it's coming out for previous gen and current gen, PS5, Series X included, PC as well, consoles, you name it. If you want Crisis Core, you'll be able to get it, and my hype levels are through the fucking roof, and especially the fact that it's going to be out this year, that it can make my GOTY list. We're gonna have a problem. I'm gonna have to fly through this fucking thing because it comes out right at the tail end of the year. There are a couple games that slotted into December this time around, which is really interesting. But if you're a Final Fantasy VII fan, make no mistake, this is an essential video game, especially if you're playing through Remake. It does not take place in. We'll save that for spoil list. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. Don't want to go into things too far, but definitely essential. It's you play as Zack, who, if you've played any of Remake, you know is a big deal. If you played the original one, you know is a huge deal. It is a exciting time still to be a Final Fantasy VII fan, but it's also a really good time to be a Final Fantasy anything fan, because in addition to Crisis Core Reunion, they announced a brand new Theatrhythm, and the crowd goes mild.
Way. Oh my goodness.
The crowd goes mild.
Wow.
Theatrhythm is fun, man. There's 2 or 3 of them. They are a rhythm action game for the DS, the 3DS originally, and it was out on mobile phones for a little while too. It's basically Final Fantasy music from a ton of different Final Fantasy games. They announced that there's going to be over 500 songs available in the game to play along with for the Switch when it comes out, depending on which version you get and which DLC you buy. So it's everything from your mainline and your spin-off Final Fantasies. But the cool twist here is that they announced that there's songs coming as DLC packs from different franchises too, including Chrono Trigger, The World Ends With You, Live Alive most recently, and then the one that probably doubled the amount of games sold, Nier. You're a Nier boy, aren't you?
I'm a Nier boy for sure.
There's a lot of Nier boys and girls out there, and they're gonna want to play their music. I'm sure of it. But pretty exciting for me. I'm definitely gonna play that game. It's fun to just jam out with those songs. It's always been a good time. This is no exception. So Theatrhythm. Now there's a couple other Nintendo Direct announcements. This is all the stuff that we hit that was pretty important to us. Overall, pretty fucking good show. Only was like 45 minutes long. It ended up being, and I mean those are some barn burners, that's for sure. A lot for people to be excited for. So that concludes the Nintendo Direct and the Ubisoft conference. Do you want to spice things up and insert what we've been playing right now, or do you want to keep on rolling through some of the events? Let's do this. Let's do the rest of the events.
Sure.
Let's jump into like opening night live and just recap a little bit of what happened there. And then we'll go and talk about what we've been playing and what we were excited for. Then we'll talk about the news that happened that was not event related. And then we'll wrap things up with what is coming, in the future.
Do we want to talk about state of play right now or later?
Ooh, you want to jump into state of play? We're going based off of excitement. You excited about that state of play?
Yeah, I thought it was really good.
It was pretty good, I would say, and I'm definitely down to talk about it because this happened mere hours after the Nintendo one. And I guess we should do the same thing that we did for the Nintendo Direct. We started with the end of the show and then made our way to the beginning of the show. So they closed out the show with, of course, the God of War Ragnarok Special Edition controller.
Dude, I was about to say, you should have showed a picture of the controller and been like, yeah, this is it.
Yeah,
the Ragnarok controller.
They gave us the one more thing and then showed off this controller, and everyone freaked out because they thought that this is all they were going to show. But they did end up jumping into a full God of War Ragnarok preview trailer. They showed a lot of new stuff, basically, for God of War Ragnarok, and it looked really fucking good. It's officially being pitched as like their story trailer. I think this is the most that we'll see of the game as far as narrative goes, but goddamn, they made it worth it. Game looks sweet, as you can imagine. I mean, we knew that was going to be the case, but I think that there was more that we were not expecting that they definitely showed off this time around. What did you make of all this?
This is probably the most excited I've been for Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Like, I was a huge fan of God of War 2018, but I haven't really been hyped for Ragnarok for some reason. I've just kind of been like, okay, it's coming out. Cool. I haven't been like, oh my God, I can't wait for it.
I'm in the same
but
boat.
after this trailer, I'm like, okay, this is really nice. This is really exciting. It looks like they've made some really good jumps.
Right. They focused on spectacle, man.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest pieces of feedback people had from God of War 2018, if you're nitpicking and trying to find something wrong with a game that's nearly perfect, enemy variety came up a lot of times. You're kind of hacking through the same couple dozen types of enemies throughout the entire game. Even the bosses were recycled to a certain point. This time they said, here's two of the same bosses at the same time.
At the same time.
Also showed off a ton of interesting looking enemy designs. What do you think? Are we going to fight that big old jellyfish or what?
Oh, I don't know, man. I wish I knew more about like Norse mythology. Everything in this trailer makes me think like, is this the same world that we were in the last game?
Right.
It just feels like, I mean, I guess they're traveling the 9 realms.
Right.
This game just feels so much bigger. And the original game, the 2018 game, was already huge as it was. So I don't know.
It raises a lot of questions. I think what a lot of people are kind of bugging about right now is that there's a lot of purists out there that say, stop showing so much of the game. And I understand what they're getting at there. Like, it does feel like they are showing a lot of stuff. But God of War, especially 2018, was very good at not showing their hand with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, we can talk God of War 2018 spoilers. They showed it in this trailer that their Blades of Chaos are back, obviously. And that was a gigantic reveal that happened about halfway through the game in the first one. One of the coolest video game moments ever, and also probably the best gaming moment that year, was going back and getting those Blades of Chaos. And that was held back through all of the promotional stuff for that video game. That was a new revelation for everybody that played that game fresh in 2018 or still plays it fresh now. Sorry if you haven't and you just listened to that. But that gives me peace of mind with what I just saw. I don't feel like the game is spoiled for me, because if we know anything about Sony Santa Monica, it's that they still have plenty of cards that they are not showing, and we are still going to be wowed and surprised by what this game has to offer.
And like the people are like, oh, they're showing too much. Stop showing all this. Counter argument. Stop watching.
Yeah, sure.
You don't have to watch the trailer.
Yeah.
Like I choose not to watch trailers for a lot of things just because I don't want any spoilers, you know? That's all you have to do.
I want to
spoil
me.
But yeah, I feel like there's so much about this game that we are not going to know until we boot it up and get there.
Without a doubt.
I'm
doubt.
pretty excited for it. I do have the question though. Same question I had with Breath of the Wild is, how is this game gonna make a jump in the gap that it's had since the last one? Because it's been a while. I mean, it's been 4 years. I just want to see how they make that jump and how they justify
new weapon mechanics. My guess is 1, maybe 2 more weapons that we haven't seen that are going to blow our minds. And I think it's going to be like environmental and story details. If they're showing this much Thor, I'm guessing that Thor is not the final boss of the game. I'm guessing it goes even crazier. And I think that there is a piece from the, I guess, from like the story aspect of this game that a lot of people have seemed to overlook now at this point. And I think what's really going to happen with this game is that they've announced that this game is not part of a trilogy. They said that this wraps up the Norse arc of God of War. So I think whatever happens towards the end of this game, I'm interested to see what that final act looks like, because I think, here's my big theory for God of War 2022.
We play as Atreus in the next one.
Game comes out November 9th, right? Day after Sonic Frontiers, so it's gonna have to wait a little bit in my playthrough.
Sonic.
No, RIP God of War. My guess is that the final act of this game kind of puts a wrap on the arc of Norse mythology. I think that maybe we fight Thor or kill Thor, however that ends up. I think that stuff starts to get wrapped up in the third act, and that we maybe start jumping into other mythologies. I think by the end of that game, we are playing in outside of the 9 realms and jumping into whatever sort of mythos they decide to go into next. And that at the end of this game, there is a clear picture of what the next 2 God of War games are and where we're headed and what we're doing. And I think that you're right that Atreus is obviously going to play a big role in that.
And you know, they had talked about whenever they were making the 2018, it was going to be like 1 Norse, 1 Egyptian, and then 1 something else. So who knows? They might go to the Egyptian next time.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. I'm curious to see how it plays out. But thankfully, with like Norse mythology, they have a wide variety of like environments to choose from. I don't know how Egyptian would play out. I mean, isn't it just deserts and stuff and like pyramids?
You played Assassin's Creed Origins and seemed to like it. You tell me.
Yeah, it was deserts and pyramids.
I'm in.
So
I'm in.
Let's do it.
Cool. So that was the big God of War blowout, but the show opened with a big one for me. Tekken 8, man. And it looked fucking great. Now, you are not a Tekken guy. You're not really a fighting game guy. And
correct.
I think, am I saying too much in saying that this trailer was impressive to you?
Oh, no, it was very impressive.
It looked so fucking good.
Yeah, that's the video that's playing right now is captured in real time playing on a PlayStation. This is not a pre-rendered video. Which is
wild.
Real-time simulation.
Yeah. It is extremely impressive. If you're listening to this, the trailer is Jin Kazama and Kazuya fighting, basically. 2D fighting in a 3D environment with the most ridiculous particle and water effects that I have ever seen, and lighting effects in a video game. There is so much happening on screen at once. It is honestly mind-blowing. And one of the things that they've said in interviews since then with the creator of Tekken has been that this game is 100% developed from the ground up in partnership with Epic Games so that they can do Unreal Engine 5 and get the most out of it that they possibly can, and that there are 0 reused assets from Tekken 7, which Tekken 7 still a phenomenal looking game to this day. So I mean, it's not saying too much that the best looking fighting game on the market is Tekken 8 right now, and that's with the amazing looking Street Fighter 6 starting to really come out of its shell. Super impressive showing. Again, not too much. They're working on the game. They pretty much just said, be excited. They didn't give us like a concrete date or anything like that for Tekken, but goddamn, a great showing and something to get really, really excited about. Does it look good enough for you to play it?
Probably not.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's just because I don't feel... I'm
stuff.
not going to spend $60, $70 on a game that I'm just not going to stick with, you know?
Yeah, I think the first, there are 3 fighting games that exist that I think can get people interested if they make the big move first. I think the next gigantically successful fighting game will be in the series of Street Fighter, Tekken, or Mortal Kombat. Those are the big 3 fighting games.
Or Fortnite.
That's not a fighting game. And
it will be soon.
If the 3 of them, if one of them decides to make their next big budget title free to play from launch, they will be the king of fighting games. They will be the biggest fighting game since Street Fighter 2, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I think that's what you need to do. They need to lower the bar of entry so that people can spend the time to get good at these games that have a high skill ceiling and a high entry level skill ceiling as well. Like, it is really frustrating because you get a fighting game, you buy it, you play through the story mode, you think you're decent, you get online, you get your ass kicked, you say there's nothing in this game for me, and you are done. If you make the game free, if you give everybody the opportunity to see that they can get decent at this game and play it and have fun, you will make your money back in microtransactions and through word of mouth and from people just wanting to play against each other in living rooms and online. I think that is the key to success for the next big fighting game. But I'm no Maximilian dude, so maybe ask him. He knows. All right.
Does he?
Yeah.
I don't know who that is.
He knows. He's the biggest like fighting game streamer. But
cool.
Like a Dragon, Ishin. What did you think about this trailer?
It looks good. I might play this game.
Are you a Yakuza guy?
No.
Well, from what I understand is that this is a good entry point because it's a complete spin-off and you need to know nothing about the Like a Dragon or Yakuza series.
Yeah, that's and it's gonna be new, and it's like it's not turn-based. It's like a live action brawler, I guess.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm excited about this. I'll probably play it. He literally starts a sword fight in the trailer and then pulls out a gun. So it's like, of course,
it's really
that's
cool.
Like it's the best thing ever.
It's an interesting video game. So it is a remake, technically, not a remaster. It's a remake of a game that came out. It was a PS3 game that was ported to the PlayStation 4 for launch in Japan. Extremely popular. It's a spin-off of the Yakuza series in the US, Like a Dragon in Japan, and it's like critically acclaimed and people absolutely adore this game. So I think this is one of those games that seems like it's like okay, we'll spend a couple minutes on it on the GameList podcast. I think it's going to be bigger than either of us expect, bigger than many Americans expect, and it's going to be gigantic in Japan. I know there are a lot of people that are very excited for this one when it comes out, but more on Yakuza coming soon. There was a RGG press conference for TGS that we'll cover sometime in the next episode. Let's talk about something that was like really surprising to both of us that no one was expecting. That's a game called Pacific Drive, which to me had, I guess, the most tantalizing trailer for everything at this PlayStation event. What did you think of this game? What do you make of this? I don't know. Table set. What is this video game?
I'm not entirely sure what to make of it. So inferring from the title and from the gameplay that's shown, it's a game where you're driving down the Pacific coast,
Hmm.
running from like supernatural events and creatures. Um, looks like you can get out of your car and scavenge for materials and whatnot. But if you spend too long in a certain area, you'll be like overrun.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not entirely sure what to pull from it. It's got a very good art style, not like hyper realistic, but kind of like a watercolor palette almost. Um, I want to see more of it. The trailer left me wanting more, and I think
Yeah.
that's a good sign for a trailer.
I feel like you can listen to this podcast and get an idea of what the trailer for God of War was and get an idea of what the trailer for Tekken was, and we can explain it all day long, but I feel like this is the one where if you're listening to this and you haven't seen the trailer yet, this is the one to go and watch because it's better seen than talked about. It is just a very interesting and unique game, and it does a great job in its minute and a half trailer of setting the scene and kind of diverting your expectations, or I guess like giving you the wrong expectations. Like you and I were watching it live, we did a reaction, it's on our YouTube stream, and we were like, it's zombies, it's a fucking zombie game, no one's gonna care about this. And this guy gets into this like juiced up station wagon and starts driving through like tornadoes and electricity fields and stuff, and it's just a very interesting video game. Really excited to see what's next. Brand new studio, Ironwood Studios, just all around a really nice and unique surprise that I'm excited to sink my teeth into. It's something that I'm definitely going to watch and see if it's up my alley, because I would love to give this game my time already, and
Absolutely.
I know almost nothing about it, so it's nice when there's a nice surprise like that. Let's jump into Rise of the Ronin. This was a pretty big surprise. Pacific Drive 2023, no ironed out date.
Yeah. Rise of the Ronin, it's a Team Ninja game.
Yeah.
They're partnered with I can't remember the other
Koei
studio.
Temco.
Koei Temco, that's right. And they are
Koei
it's
Tecmo?
like a
Dyslexia,
Koei,
sorry.
beats me.
Continue.
Yeah, so it's set in like a industrial revolution Japan. And it's like an open world looking area. If it's anything like Team Ninja's prior games, it's going to be like Souls difficulty almost.
Yeah. Yep.
I really don't know what to expect from this game, but I'm into it. It's kind of been like the vibe for this showcase.
Yeah.
I don't know what to expect, but it looks very good, and it's been partnered.
Go ahead.
Oh, it's been developed like in partnership with PlayStation for a couple years now.
Yeah.
So PlayStation's backing it, so I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, it's a PlayStation console exclusive developed by Koei Tecmo, and what's interesting about it, what I think is really cool about this trailer, is that the trailer is good, and this looks like a game that's ready to ship, right? But unlike most of the games in this conference, this is not a game for 2022. This is not a game for 2023. This is a 2024 game that Team Ninja is working on for them. So that, to me, is the sure sign of like a quality product. I think Team Ninja has tarnished their reputation a little bit, if I'm going to be honest here. They were in the glory days of like the Xbox really doing a number with like Ninja Gaiden and stuff like that. And I think that they've failed to rise to that, I don't know, height since then, and they need a big win as a development studio, and this looks like it could be it. Again, it's going to suffer a little bit from being one of the many games that are kind of in this wheelhouse of like you're playing a samurai or a Ronin or some sort of like, you know, sword wielding action game that's hard to play. But what I saw today was a game with a beautiful open world developed by a team that knows how to make a combat system that just looked really fun, and it looks like they're putting the time in to master it and make it what it's supposed to be. I see this game shaping up similar to Ghost of Tsushima, where it looks like 1,000 other games, but if they do the ramp up the right way, it could be so critically acclaimed that it breaks through and sets itself apart from a lot of the other games that we've talked about today. So pretty impressive showing for Rise of the Ronin. I'm definitely
It's got a great key art as well.
It does. That it does. Now, if you want to talk about games with bad key art, let's talk about Stellar Blade.
Hey, bro.
Bad key art, but talk about a game with a glow up. Now, this is Project Eve.
Yes.
It is now known as Stellar Blade, and this game was shown off at a State of Play late last year or early this year under the Project Eve moniker, and a lot of people thought it was Parasite Eve at first. They weren't sure what to make of it, and it was, interesting, not the most impressive thing in the world. And this game had a glow up. This was a awesome trailer, if you ask me. I think it was super interesting looking, and it was really fun to watch live, kind of putting together, what is this game? Is this Project Eve? I think it's Project Eve. I think that's the girl. Just the amount of time and effort that's been put in on further developing what this game is. You could tell that they made a protagonist, and they made a battle system and a general aesthetic, and they've really kind of mixed and mastered it since then. So pretty good look at that game. Where are you falling on Project Eve?
This might be
Stellar Blade.
Yes, Stellar Blade. This might be my favorite one at the show.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I hate describing things as the vibe, but the vibe of this game is just super techno, super anime.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love it, and I can't wait to play it. I'm definitely buying this game. Also, we might have a new best girl on the table.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm looking at her and I'm inclined to agree. It does look cool, but is your best boy the mechanical old man or what?
Yes, sure. Her suit, her green like exo suit looking thing.
Sure.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Also, it looks like
cool.
she has a. I don't know if you saw it in that one scene that just played on the video version of the podcast. Check it out. Check us out on YouTube.
Good plug, dude.
She had a thing that was floating behind her that kind of looked like a ghost from Destiny.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Some sort of they do that in Nier a lot too, don't you? Have an extra thing firing behind you all the time.
Yes.
It does kind of have that vibe. But yeah, Stellar Blade. That's the name, right? Not Project Eve. Yeah, Stellar Blade. Nailed it.
Close enough.
First try.
They're the same thing. Literally, they're the same thing.
Yeah. It'll fade out into obscurity. You'll forget that Forspoken was once called
Project Athia.
Nice work, dude. Good pull. Yeah. Good pull.
Yeah.
Last game that we wanted to talk about for the Sony conference, I didn't really want to talk about it, but certain somebody is excited for Rain Code.
Yeah, Rain Code. So do you know the Danganronpa games?
I know of them. I've never played them.
Okay, so this is pretty much the new game from the Danganronpa guys.
Okay.
So pretty much the premise of this game that I've understood just from the trailer is you're playing a character that is haunted by some sort of demon / angel type thing.
Sure.
And you're an investigator and you're solving mysteries. And as you piece together stuff, different clues from the mysteries and whatnot, or from the crime scenes, this angel or demon or whatever will kind of suck you into a pocket dimension, so you can figure out and piece together everything that you've solved. And then you'll be fighting a boss, but when you're fighting the boss, it's kind of like a test. They're quizzing you on the information that you've found out, and you have to answer the questions correctly to solve the mystery and defeat the boss. I don't know. It looks interesting to me. I like games where you play as police.
It looks a little bit
Astral Blade. You played
Persona,
as
I think is the big game that I could draw a comparison to that we haven't mentioned yet. I think it's also worth noting that I mixed it up, and this was actually at the Nintendo Direct and not the Sony event. That day blurs together, man. Big content day.
Was it?
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that either. It was a big day. It was a very big and busy day.
But yeah, no, I get it. It looks cool. It looks like some weeby shit, and I can get on board with that from time to time. That's for sure. Yeah. Not too bad.
Well, do we know the release date? Was that in the trailer? I actually haven't checked about that.
I don't believe it was. I think it's a 2023 game. But
didn't I win the bet where you have to play something on my
spring 2023?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh my god.
I did lose a bet. I thought that it was the Ubisoft forward bet where I thought that we would hear Splinter Cell was coming back, and the bet was if we hear at any time the sound of Sam Fisher's goggles, If I hear it, then I win, and Kaulin has to play a game from my game of the year list that he hasn't played. And the other option would be, if I don't hear it, then I have to play something from his list that I didn't play towards the end of the year. When we're doing our roundup, we're pretty good. If you're listening to us for the first time this year, as we ramp up our GOTY lists, basically what we do is once January rolls around, we kind of kick it into hyperdrive mode, and we try to go through what we've missed.
Everything.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. So we'll have that opportunity where once our lists are starting to look a little bit more hashed out, we'll have our top 10 and our honorable mentions. We'll be able to recommend to each other some stuff to play. And there's definitely some things from his list that I would absolutely avoid because they're not my jam, but now he has the power to make me.
Yeah, I can't wait. I just have to figure out which one he's going to hate the most.
Don't try to make it bad. You want me to add something to my game of the list. Game of the year list. So the best way to do it would be to look at everything and say, what has he not played that I could get him to appreciate, so that perhaps it makes it further on his game of the year list.
I already know what I'm gonna make you play.
Okay, don't save it.
Yeah, I already
save
know.
it. For right now, let's hop into another event that took place. Let's hop into Gamescom Opening Night Live. Gamescom Opening Night Live from executive producer of GameList, Jeff Keighley. Co-creator, I would say. We can't call him an executive producer. Okay, technically he has nothing to do with this, but he is the reason that this podcast exists. So we give him a little credit. We give Jeff a little shout out. He'll be guesting on the show at some point in the future, that's for sure, as we continue to blow up. Now listen, this was a big show. There was a lot happening in the show. We'll just talk about some of the highlights and some of the things that we saw during this crazy event. We've been doing the same thing for all of these events and sort of like starting with the end, starting with the big thing that they showed off. So this was the big re-reveal of fucking Dead Island 2. From the ashes of the original Dead Island 2 comes Dead Island 2. What did you think, dude? Can you believe it's back?
It looks really good.
Yeah.
I think this game looks better than Saints Row. If I had to compare it to something. Well, I just had to give it like a frame of reference. I like stupid zombie games where you run around bashing skulls in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's my thing. So I will be more than happy to pick this game up when it releases, grab a 6-pack of beers, and just get drunk and play this game all night.
I get it. Did you play the original Dead Island or Dead Island Riptide?
I did. I played, yes, Dead Island Riptide.
And you liked them?
Yeah, loved them.
I get it. I'm not big on Dead Island in general or zombie games in general. I did play the original Dead Island for the first couple hours, and I liked it enough for a game genre that I'm not too fond of. I understand why it's popular. I don't know if this one... here's the problem, is that this game was supposed to come out 2 years after Dead Island Riptide, and it just slipped into obscurity. There was no news of its cancellation. There was, in fact, rumors on the contrary. Dead Island 2 is still happening, and then kind of everybody just stopped talking about it up until it resurfaced on fucking Amazon as a pre-order 3 days before the show, before Opening Night Live. And then for Opening Night Live, they closed it out with the re-reveal, the coming out party of Dead Island 2, the fact that it is actually happening and it's coming out soon. I wonder if it's too little too late for this game. What do you think? Do you think it makes it?
No, it's probably too late for like critical success.
Brutal.
But I don't care. I'm going to play it. Which it's worth noting. The first 2 games were developed by Techland, which has gone on to make Dying Light 1 and 2 before a second Dead Island could come out. So I think because it is it's being made by different people, I think it will have a different vibe that might be interesting to some people. Mm-hmm. How many times have I said vibe on this podcast? Somebody count that up.
It's a vibe podcast.
It is. I mean, we're just going on vibes, bro. But I think it will probably have maybe 60s, 70s Metacritic scores.
Sure.
I think it will be higher than you would imagine. But it's too late. It's just the gaming genre has changed. Everybody wants space horror games now.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that in a moment. Don't get too far ahead of yourself, Callisto man. before we do that, we have to talk about the biggest game of November that comes out before the second biggest game of November. The day before, in fact. Sonic Frontiers coming out November.
I thought you were going to say Skull and Bones, bro.
No, November 8th, the day before November 9th, which is when God of War comes out. Sonic Frontiers was shown off. They showed a story trailer at Gamescom, and it looks sweet. I don't want to spend too much time. You guys know I've talked a lot about Sonic Frontiers. You know I have an unfair bias on how much I enjoy the game. I think it is going to be way better than everybody expects. And I think that at this point, I'm running it ragged saying the same thing, but with what they showed off in this trailer, they have put to rest all the concerns, I think, that people had with the initial showing of this game. It got off to a really bad start with its IGN press junket, where it just showed off that first open world, and people thought that was the entire game.
Yeah, that was
Sega
so
PR
terrible.
heard you loud and clear, and they said, look at all the shit that we have to show off that's not that environment. Although they do have that environment, and it looks fine, and it looks like there's plenty to do in it. There's also a desert environment. There's some sort of like undead ruins type environment. They have these one-off levels that are inspired by old Sonic games like City Escape and Green Hill Zone. There is a lot happening in this game, and it is shaping up to, honestly, I think, be above average, and likely, if I were to guess, probably the best 3D Sonic game since Sonic Heroes Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. Time will tell, obviously. We'll have full impressions in just a month or two. But I think
you
Sonic's
are
here to stay.
playing Sonic 06 right now, right?
Yeah.
How's that going?
Poorly, man. I'm streaming that on my channel, Jake Twitchin', on Saturday nights with 3 of my buddies, and we're kind of ragging on it a little bit, but I mean, listen, it is a abysmal video game that's hard to play, but I enjoy it. I enjoy suffering through that video game. It's not good, but I just got a special
You're a
place in my heart.
masochist, is what you're saying.
Well, only with some things, man.
I-
It's platformers. Platformers do it for me.
Sure. Okay. I mean, that's fair. You do you. But I will say, if I were to buy a game on November 8th and on November 9th, November 8th would be Skull and Bones,
That's so
and November
absurd.
9th would be God of War. So,
Congratulations on picking the only game that the general public would shame you more for than Sonic Frontiers in
and Sonic Frontiers.
Skull and Bones.
You know.
Nice
Ow.
work. All right,
My
let's
dog
talk about
is-
something that you are actually genuinely excited for. Is this a
Oh,
day one
yes,
purchase
yes.
for you? The DualSense Edge?
You know it, bro. I have
Yeah?
to have more DualSenses. I literally, if I could buy a new DualSense every week, I would. That's a
You
lie.
got 2 on
No,
the docket.
I've got oh, you're right. Oh, I could get the God of War one and this one.
Yeah.
No, the real mistake here is them not making this have a God of War version, right?
I don't think that this thing is ready for the God of War release date, and the other one comes out before it. So
That's
this
also
doesn't have a date. Basically, this was a big surprise for opening night live. For Sony to announce like a piece of hardware was pretty interesting. This is essentially
Yeah.
Sony's Pro controller. The Xbox Elite controller has existed for a long time, $250. I'm guessing that'll be the price for this thing. This is a high-end PlayStation 5 DualSense. I almost called it a DualShock, and then I corrected it into DualSense, which led to DualSense, which is fine. I mean, not too much to talk about. It was a 30-second trailer where it just showed this thing fucking floating around in ethereal space. But
Yeah.
it's cool. It's got paddle triggers.
Yeah, it's
You know
got
what's-
paddles on the back. You can actually pop out the entire thumbstick apparatus and replace them. So if your thumbstick ever goes bad on this controller, you just buy a replacement thumbstick and stick it right back in. It's modular.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's got it's got like trigger stops, reprogrammable buttons, and all the typical like elite controller stuff.
Nice.
Yeah,
Looks
excited.
cool. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are going to be very interested in getting this, and they've been clamoring for it for a long time. Do you know that Scuff owns the copyright, the trademark, the patent on paddle shifters like that on all video game controllers, and that every time Microsoft sells an Elite controller or PlayStation sells like an Edge controller, they have to pay a percentage to Scuff because they fucking invented that concept?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah, pretty cool. Good for them.
Did you know Scuff is owned by Logitech?
No, I didn't. Good for them. Good pickup.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good pickup. All right.
Crazy.
I'm starting a timer right now. You have 60 seconds to rant about the Callisto Protocol, and then I'm going to cut you off. Timer starts now.
Callisto Protocol. If you don't know what it is, go look it up. It's the new Dead Space. It's by Glenn Schofield. Striking Distance Studio. Glenn Schofield. Okay, that doesn't count to my time. Pause it. Restart. I need more time.
Go.
So it's the new Dead Space. It's very gory, very horror, very scary. Things are gonna mutate in front of you and try to eat you and rip you in half. At the opening night live, they showed possibly the worst trailer they could show for this game, because it was literally just the dude sliding down a big like poop slide for about 2 minutes. I don't know why they showed that. I guess they thought it was cool. It ended with him getting cut in half. This game looks super great. If you're a Dead Space fan, you're gonna love this game. I recommend going and pre-ordering it right now. I do not get commissions, unfortunately. I can't wait for this game. I'm gonna be playing this on my stream in December. So be on the lookout for that. At Kaulin _.
And that does it for the Callisto Protocol. All right. Our next segment is for, this is a pretty cool one, man. Moonbreaker. I'm really proud of just alley-ooping you a minute to talk about Callisto Protocol. I'm so sick of talking about that weird fucking game. All right, wait.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw you a bonus.
I don't have much new to say about it, though.
Bonus. I didn't prepare this as a segment, but did you happen to see Schofield's fucking tweet last month? Did you catch any of this stuff?
Oh, is it about the crunch?
Yeah. This motherfucker goes and fucking tweets
the bad
out,
tweet.
Oh yeah. He kind of fucked up. He tweeted about how cool it was that the team was working 16-hour days and 7 days a week to make Callisto the best product it was. It was the most tone-deaf tweet in the world, and immediately everybody fucking jumped down his throat.
It was a very tone deaf, and I don't know if he said that being like a jerk, or if he's just genuinely
have you ever seen this man talk on stage? This guy thought it was rad.
He seems like the sweetest guy ever.
He doesn't seem that way.
He does. I've watched some interviews with him, and he seems very like, I don't know what the right word is here, but I don't think he's a tool, at least.
I only talk about this game during an event. We're working 6 to 7 days a week. Nobody's forcing us. Exhaustion, tired, COVID, but we're working. Bugs, glitches, perf fixes, one last pass through audio, 12 to 15 hour days. This is gaming, hard work, lunch, dinner, working. You do it because you love it.
Yeah, that's a terrible tweet.
That's not what we're looking to highlight in the game industry.
No, I don't know why he would say that when literally, like, for the past 3 years, the main focus in the games industry has been, like, how unhealthy it is for people to work that much. And he's like, yeah, but we're doing it anyway. It's like, come on, bro. I want to like your game, but...
You want to guess who led the fucking pitchfork raid on him?
Our favorite person, Jason Schreier.
And he responded directly to Jason Schreier, saying basically all of that stuff. It's a real nightmare.
And I will say, I work in the healthcare field, so I'm no stranger to long days. And I am like a person who, if I'm working a long day and I can get like time and a half for a couple of hours or two that day, I'd be happy to do it. As long as he's not forcing anyone to be there, I don't really see a problem with it. But if there's some sort of like passive aggressive messaging that they have to stay or some sort, like that's when I start to have a problem with it. Like it has to be a choice for people to stay that long. And they have to, like, it's a gray area in certain aspects, at least.
Yeah. Listen, I understand where he was coming from on it seeming like it's like showing that there's a dedicated team, and I
Yeah.
feel like that kind of thing just comes better from like a small indie team that's passionate about their project. I just don't know how many people are working under this guy that are just like super amped to be doing this. And it
Yeah.
boils down to it can be an exception. It is absolutely forbidden for it to be a rule, and it ends up creating a workplace environment where the people that aren't putting in those days or aren't willing to do it are going to be looked at as less than. It creates a toxic environment. It's unhealthy in the long run. You are better off to have your game take an extra year and work the amount of hours that are normal for a person, because at some point that stuff's going to collapse on you. It's not good, and it's been proven time and time again. That's why I think people came down on him so fucking hard.
Yeah, for sure. And there's also a difference. Like, I work in the healthcare field. Long hours are normal, and like I've been conditioned for it. But a creative field's kind of different because there's a lot of creative burnout. And it takes a different toll. Like, if you work too long trying to be creative, you just lose it. It's a skill that you have to exercise in a very like calculated manner. It's not like me picking drugs for a patient for 12 hours a day, you know? So that's a tough tweet. I wish he hadn't have made that tweet.
I agree. Not a great look. All right. I ended up giving you fucking 10 minutes on the fucking Callisto Protocol, but at least it was at its expense. Let's dig into Moonbreaker. I won't spend too much time on this because the truth of the matter is that you'll be able to find out for yourself in just 14 days. This game comes out in early access on the 29th. This is a really interesting looking tabletop RPG game from the Subnautica developers. They're Unknown Worlds is the name of them, and I think everybody expected another like survival type game like Subnautica, but instead we got Moonbreaker, which is super interesting. There's a big layer of customization. It's a tabletop adventure where it is like 100% you are playing on a tabletop to the point of you can paint and customize your little figures, your little, I'm going to get roasted by the tabletop community. I almost called them your little action figures. That sounds so demeaning. But your miniatures, your collectible miniatures, you can customize them and share them online. It just seems like a really cool looking, unique video game, and the team behind it seems really passionate. It was a group of people that was working on a certain type of game, which happened to be a survival game, and you'd expect them to go down that route again, but they sat down, they said, what are we all passionate about? What should we make our next game? And they just went in the polar opposite direction. Really cool, really exciting. Did you think anything of this?
I probably won't play it, but it looks really cool. Their studio, I think this is like a smaller team within their studio that has made this game.
Probably.
So I'm sure they have something else up their sleeve soon. And then also, they have mentioned like they make, except for Subnautica 1 and then Subnautica Below Zero, they said they made a conscious decision to change genre of games between each of their titles, and that Below Zero was like a outlier for them, I guess.
Yes.
So I'm interested to see where this game goes. If it gets really good reviews, I might check it out on my Steam Deck.
Yeah, that would be a good fit for it. Feels right.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the weirdest fucking first-party Microsoft game that's ever existed. High on Life.
Wait, is this first-party Microsoft?
I mean, it's a Game Pass Day 1 game. I believe official Xbox is publishing it. It's developed by Squanch Games, and it's got Roiland. Is that the guy who's behind it? The guy from Rick and Morty that's not Dan Harmon? Yes, and it's got that Rick and Morty DNA all over it, despite not being in that same universe. But when you know, you know. Weird look at this game. They showed off a boss fight, basically, and some of the most grating dialogue that's ever existed in a video game, yet people went nuts for it. Millions of views on YouTube. I think that this game is going to hit more than it misses for the people that enjoy it. Are you that people?
I liked Rick and Morty, and then it went like really like mainstream, and it got really annoying. I don't think this is for me. If it ever came to PlayStation, I might check it out. But I'm just kind of like,
I'm in the other camp where the fact that it's on Game Pass makes me want to check it out more. The fact that I can have basically no investment in it and give it a shot,
fair.
perhaps. If it came to PlayStation and it was a $70 video game, there would be zero fucking chance that I'd be interested in it.
No, I wouldn't pay $70 for it. You know what? I bet this will come out on PlayStation in a year and a half to 2 years on the PS Plus catalog.
Yeah. The most appealing thing to me is actually the gameplay. Like, it actually doesn't look too bad. It looks like a nice, I don't know, a decent first-person shooter. It's got... I say this every time we talk about this game, where it reminds me a lot of Stranger's Wrath, which had like that live ammo thing. You were fighting like... You were shooting literal aliens and animals at people, and it seems like that, you know, you talk to your guns, but the humor, you gotta watch a trailer for this and decide if this is for you or if it's not. I don't think there's gonna be much middle ground. I think the people that watch the trailer and love it will end up loving this game. The people that watch the trailer and hate it will end up hating this game. I don't think there are gonna be many people like me that are somewhere in between. So, might be a tough sell.
You know, if you like Rick and Morty, you'll probably like this game. I think the one thing that I do like about this game is there was a trailer where it was like a little clip. They walked up to this like child, and the child's like, "What are you gonna do? Shoot me?"
Oh god, I hated that so much. That made me like.
I loved that. I was like, "You can just kill kids in this game." That was actually my favorite part of this game so far. Everything else, I'm like, meh. But
all right, that's why you got two different hosts for this show, because we even each other out from time to time.
I think the reason I like that so much is all the annoying little children in Skyrim that I've wanted to kill since I was 12 years old. And now I can finally
give them their due.
I can finally do it.
All right, this is a game that I saw at this thing. I thought absolutely nothing of, and was beyond surprised to see it pop up whatsoever on your interest when we were putting the podcast together. I don't even remember the fucking trailer. Tell me about Deliver Us Mars.
Deliver Us Mars is like a first/third person exploration game set on Mars. So I'm gonna backtrack just a little bit, because this is actually one of the games that I played this month. Not Deliver Us Mars, but Deliver Us the Moon, which is actually the first game in this series.
Well, they should have called this Deliver Us the Mars.
Yes. I thought that at first too, and then I was like, that doesn't really work grammatically, but you know, I don't care. So yeah, Deliver Us the Moon is the first one. It's on PS4 and PS5, and I'm sure like everything else. It's actually on the PlayStation Plus collection. So I was like, oh, let me check it out. And I actually checked it out. I had it downloaded about a week before this trailer was shown. Yeah, so it's an exploration game. You're kind of exploring like the moon, imagine that, where things went bad and you're trying to find like a new energy source, kind of. It's a very narrative-based game. In the first game, you actually don't see anybody's faces because it was such a low budget. It was actually a Kickstarter game originally. Oh, cool. This is one of the few successful Kickstarter games that actually came out.
Mighty number 9.
Yeah, we don't talk about that game. But this is just the sequel to Deliver Us the Moon. If you've played Deliver Us the Moon and you want something just the next step up, I think you'll enjoy it. You can see she has the Tomb Raider ice picks, so that's cool. Yeah, I'm excited for it. I don't really have much to say about it. I pass that.
Nice. I don't know. It's not something that was on my radar. When I watched the trailer again, with you being like passionate about it, I am all of a sudden more interested, I guess.
It's,
I don't know.
The Deliver Us the Moon is kind of like, it's a solid AA game with none of the fluff that AAA games give you. Like when I'm playing an action adventure game or like a puzzle game or something, I just want to experience a story and go from point A to B, and I don't want all this extra crap on the side that slows me down or distracts me. Then like this is that kind of game. Like you're gonna get what you're gonna get, and it's got a solid start and a solid ending, and I really appreciate that.
Hey, maybe I'll check out Deliver Us the Moon because it doesn't sound so bad to me. To be quite honest.
I think you might actually enjoy it.
Yeah. Or maybe I won't and hope that that's the game that you recommend for my game of the year. We'll see. To be determined. We are ready to hop in to our next event. and it's a pretty interesting one. Now, this was a smaller event. This is the last of all the events. So we've gone through the Ubisoft event, the PlayStation event, the Nintendo event, and Gamescom opening night live. The smallest of all of them was the first of its kind. It was the Disney and Marvel Games Showcase. So this was a 20-minute live stream that took place just last week, and it was basically all Disney properties. So they showed off a number of things, but namely, we've been doing the right thing here and starting off with each event's biggest announcement. And this one, far and away, had one single announcement that was absolutely gigantic, which, I mean, I don't know, maybe you can argue that it was gigantic, but it's Untitled Black Panther Captain America video game from Skydance New Media, which I fucking hate that it doesn't have a title. I've been ragging on that all episode. Tell me why you're excited about this.
Because I like Black Panther and I like Captain America.
Yeah, same.
Oh, also because Amy Pascal's behind it.
No, it's not Amy Pascal. It's Amy Hennig.
Or Amy Hennig. Sorry,
Skydance New Media.
It's difficult. It's I don't know. I say Amy Pascal because she's the Star Wars girl.
Star Wars girl. No, that's Kathleen
Right?
Kennedy. Don't worry
Amy
about it.
Pascal. What
maybe,
the heck am I
maybe.
missing?
It's a familiar,
Pedro
it's a familiar
Pascal.
name.
Oh my god. What the? Who is Amy
You're on
Pascal?
it. You're on it. Captain America and Black Panther video game. Talk about who Amy Hennig is.
Oh, Amy Pascal's the Spider-Man girl. She does a lot of work with Spider-Man.
Now it all checks out. So
yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
Amy Hennig, Uncharted girl.
Yeah. More importantly, Legacy of Kain girl.
Really? Dog Days?
No, that's Kane and Lynch.
Oh, God,
Legacy
my
of
brain
Kain
is
is like the Soul Reaver Blood Omen stuff from like the PS2 era.
Oh boy. I think I just had a stroke. If I'm being honest, I don't know.
That's
what
okay.
happened.
I'm on it. So this game was announced with basically nothing to show. We just aired the entire trailer, and nothing happens in it. It takes a really slow panning tour of basically documents and items on a table that ends with Captain America's shield and then pans up and shows that there's scratches in it, indicating that it's Black Panther. So what this is Amy Hennig's new game, Skydance New Media. They've been working together for a while on an unannounced game that people have assumed is in the Marvel Universe. It was revealed that this takes place during World War II, and despite it being a single-player game, you play as 4 heroes. You play as Captain America, Black Panther, a soldier from Captain America's troop of people. What is that called? What's his Captain America's squad
Platoon?
called? No, they've got like a fancy name. And then Black Panther's fancy squad of protectors as well, the all-female warriors that stab you with sticks.
Do you know what their name is?
No, do you?
No, I don't remember. I had it. It was
We're
right
fucking
there, and I
killing
lost
this
it.
segment on the Amy Hennig game that you're super excited for. I was really banking on you for this one. So the long and short of it is that this game has an interesting concept. It comes from a veteran team that allegedly is good at making video games. Time will tell. I think they showed this game way too early. They can't even give it a name. It makes it hard to talk about it, as evident by my counterpart over here struggling to do so. It is
the Dora Milaje.
Dora Milaje. That sounds right.
I don't think I'm pronouncing it right, but yeah.
You're doing pretty well. That's the right name. I don't know. I don't have much to talk about this game because they didn't give us much to talk about. It seems like an interesting concept. Time will tell. I feel like we've given it more time than they were willing to give us about their fucking video game. Yet
they didn't even give us a code name.
No, codename Jade.
Codename
Hennig.
Yeah, codename.
That's what it
codename
is.
Panther, Captain Panther.
So this was Colin's big pick for the coolest of the announcements. For me, I go in a much different direction. I think the coolest announcement was Disney's Illusion Island. This is so rad to me. Have you ever heard of Castle of Illusion, the Mickey games from back in the day?
No, I have not.
There were a pair of them. They were side-scrolling platformer games. This is kind of a spiritual successor to that. It is a really interesting take on, I don't know, Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Goofy playing in a side-scrolling adventure game. The game has a really interesting art style, and I think the best comparison that I can make for it is that it looks a little bit like Rayman Legends or Rayman Origins, those remakes or reboots of the Rayman series from like 6 or 7 years ago. It's a 2D action side scroller, 4-player co-op, bright, it's colorful, it looks fun, it looks fast. Not too much to go off of, but a really nice look at, I don't know, kind of the rebirth of a fucking franchise that I think deserves to exist. It looks really, really cool. Worth checking out the trailer if you're into platformers at all. Illusion Island, baby. Good shit. Good shit. Outside of that, for the Disney event, they showed off a lot of stuff that we've kind of already seen, to be quite honest. We have slides for them. I don't think there's really too much that we need to spend time on for them right now. Just basically Midnight Suns, which we all assumed got delayed into next year when we were talking last episode. It missed its October time frame and it got delayed into fiscal quarter 4, which we thought meant basically January, February. Somehow that's not the case. It's going to launch on December 2nd. So Midnight Suns will make it this year. They also announced the Marvel card game, Marvel Snap, is coming out of beta and getting a wide release on October 18th. Outside of that, at the Disney event, they showed off a bunch of stuff that we were already sort of expecting. They had like the Dreamlight Valley update with Toy Story characters, which looks fun. They showed off Monsters, Inc. is coming to Disney Speedstorm, which still doesn't have a release date, but that game is pretty fun to play as well. Mostly just a collection of little updates on Disney games. Hopefully they have a better showing next year. Cool that it was its own little standalone event, but as you can tell, not too much of substance.
Yeah,
overall,
I wasn't impressed.
I would say the weakest of the 5 events that we just covered.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But goddamn, that's just the events. We still have to talk about what we've been playing. So let me ask you, Colin, what you been playing, man? We're finally at that point.
So we checked out the Splatoon
Ooh.
3 Splatfest, right?
Hell yeah, we did. Hell yeah, we did. And I've checked out the entire game. Before I start ranting about how awesome Splatoon is, which you guys, spoiler alert, already knew I was going to think if you listened to last month's episode, what did you think of your time with Splatoon?
I had fun with it.
Yeah.
It was definitely fun for what it was. I'd never played a Splatoon before.
Yeah, I had spent very little time with Splatoon, and I was really pleasantly surprised. So they did that Splatfest that we talked about, where it was just one day. It was basically their open beta. It was 12 hours long, and you could hop in and play the online mode with full functionality and like a wide variety of weapons already unlocked for you, which was really cool to kind of experiment with. And I was surprised at how much fun I had playing a multiplayer shooter that kind of had like a little extra twist to it. Like I liked that it wasn't just deathmatch or like control the points. The idea of like having the most real estate is super fucking fun with those guns, man.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I'm not good at the PvP part, but I can spray the ground really well.
That's all you need to do, and if you spray that ground long enough, eventually an enemy will run into that reticle and you'll feel really good about it. But
Yeah.
Playing that enough with you, and we played with Freight, former guest of the show. We all kind of hopped in there and messed around. Sold me on the full version of the game, so I went and I picked it up. And I am so pleasantly surprised at how much of a complete package Splatoon 3 is. I've been having an absolute blast with it. What's nice about Splatoon is that it's a really slick and like quick-moving Nintendo product. You guys know how it is these days when you hop into like fucking like Warzone to play a match. You're basically hopping in and you're loading up that game for 7 minutes until you find a lobby. Then you're dropping in and your game is either going to be like 10 seconds long or 40 minutes long until you're at the end of it. Splatoon is tight, man. From the second that I press on my Switch, within 60 seconds, I'm in a multiplayer game, and that multiplayer game is 3 minutes long. I've really had a blast like hopping in there for 15 minutes and just playing 4 multiplayer games and then going to something else. But at the same time, I've had sessions where I hop in for 3 or 4 hours and play dozens of games as well. I am over the moon about Splatoon 3. I think that it's absolutely popping up on my Game of the Year list once I hash things out. And in addition to just that multiplayer suite, the Salmon Run PvE mode, which is kind of like a horde mode, like a Gears of War horde mode, like a wave clearing type of mode, is super fun. The single player story is surprisingly engaging. It's kind of like a big hub world where you unlock different time trial based levels that are sort of like challenges. The amount of things that there are to do in this game It's honestly staggering. It's got a really fun progression system where you start off with only one weapon, and then every time you level up, you get a ticket that you can redeem for another weapon. So it does a really great job of like trickling content into like your game. And then the customization options are really cool too, because not only do you get things that look cool, but you spend your time basically leveling up those things and rolling new stats for them. So you're kind of constantly swapping things in and out, trying to get buffs that make sense for the build or the weapon that you play. It does a lot of really unique things. Splatoon it's tough that they don't have a demo out at all times. Really, you had that one opportunity that we talked about on the last show to check the game out for a couple hours, and then everything else is spend $60 and see if you like it. I wish that I could say go play that story demo and see if it works for you, but that just doesn't exist, unfortunately. My advice to you at home, if you're not in on Splatoon, is make a friend with Splatoon and try that game out with them, because I really am passionate about it. I think it's a really fucking fun game. It's been
I'm gonna go become friends with somebody and only use them for their Splatoon 3 copy.
I wouldn't knock you for it, man. I think that it would be worth it for you to just link up with them for that explicit reason. But yeah, I mean, I've had a blast with every moment that I've spent with it, in every mode that I've spent with it, and it is the most comprehensive package. It's the best I've felt about spending $60 on a game in a really long time from Nintendo. Nintendo is like, for me, notorious for like, I'll buy a game for $60, I'll play it for 10 hours, beat it, and then just be done with it. Like, Kirby's one of my games of the year so far. It's in my top 5. I haven't even beat the game yet, which I fully plan to by end of the year. I know that I love it, but I've only played it for like 8 hours. And that's enough for me to know what it offers. But Splatoon has all of what Kirby has to offer as far as like a single player goes, but just has that multiplayer aspect that Nintendo doesn't often bring to the table, which is really rad.
So, are you telling me that you feel like you wasted money spending $60 on Xenoblade Chronicles 3?
That's a bad transition, because I don't want to rant about Xenoblade yet. I'll let you have a shot first. I do not feel that way. Wait till you hear my playtime for Xenoblade.
I wasn't trying to transition. I was trying to just trap you in a statement that you made.
No.
It went
I
poorly.
spent far more than 8 hours on Xenoblade, I'll tell you that much. Now, while we're on the topic of how much time we've put into games that we adore, why don't you talk to us about your time spent in The Last of Us Part 1?
I was about to say, if you want to make a dig about spending money on something and not putting time into it. I bought Last of Us Part 1, and it's very good. I've played it for about 2 hours. It's what? I mean, it's literally like, I mean, obviously it's the best version of The Last of Us.
Yeah.
If you've never played The Last of Us, this is the one that you want to play. It's beautiful. It runs so smoothly. It's actually funny. I started streaming this game, and it broke my stream setup because it outputs at 120 hertz, and my monitor can't handle 120 hertz. So it broke my streaming stuff because it was just too good.
Game is too good.
Yeah, it's not often you can say that about a game, but I mean, this is the definitive version of The Last of Us. One of the best stories, if not the best story in gaming. I adore it. I will be playing more of it, and we'll kind of get into the reason why I haven't played that much once we get into what else I've been playing.
Sure.
But man, it's a good game. Is it worth $70? You got to make that call for yourself. But for me, I think it was.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. I think I've on the show even said where I stand on it. I think the next time that I am yearning to play The Last of Us, I will play it in this fashion. But this is not a game that came out for me where I am like, holy shit, I need to go play the new remake of The Last of Us. The game is only 10 years old. I've replayed it since then when I was in the mood for it. It is great. It's one of the best video game stories of all time. It plays pretty well. It holds up to the test of time, even its original form. The fact that it got a new coat of paint is great, but there is nothing that is compelling me to go and play through that dreary nightmare of a video game right now. As much as I love
so
it.
good.
And I do love The Last of Us Part 1.
It makes you so emotional no matter how many times you play it. It just hits you just right.
I think maybe I will take that trip to replay it when The Last of Us TV show ramps up. Like I'll probably be in that mood.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to like compare it and have that fresh in my head, which is maybe why this game exists, because HBO is going to be making a big push for The Last of Us.
Yeah.
It was actually really heartwarming to see a little bit of TV. HBO does their like the new House of the Dragon came out, and before House of the Dragon, HBO airs their big like look what's coming up on HBO: Succession season 4, House of the Dragon, and their big like ramp up at the end, and it's like and coming this fall, The Last of Us. Like it had like a nice extended look at The Last of Us TV show. Cool to see a video game adaptation getting that much play. They're really passionate about it, and they've got a lot of money behind it, and it looks like it's going to be fantastic. I mean, we already know the story, and it slaps. So.
Yeah, and I think The Last of Us TV show has the possibility to be the best video game adaptation.
Yeah, it's entirely possible.
Yeah.
You think it can
We'll
beat
see.
Sonic the Hedgehog?
Absolutely not. I don't know. Does it have Idris Elba in it? I don't think so.
No, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Idris
It
Elba's
doesn't.
pretty
What a
good.
nightmare.
It does have Pedro Pascal though, and I love that man.
That does mean quite a bit. You got a
Yeah.
point there. All right. We have breaking news here at GameList.
Speaking about quite a bit,
I put, since our last episode, about 55 hours into Xenoblade Chronicles 3, a game that was barely on my radar.
wait, how many hours?
About 55.
Is that total or just since the last episode?
I started it since the last episode.
Oh, okay.
So total, yeah.
Okay.
This is a game that I kind of made fun of. I've never played a game in the Xenoblade Chronicles series. I've always looked at it and been like, anime bullshit, not for me. It's always been on the cusp of being something that I could be interested in, but it never quite clicked for me. I found myself on vacation for an extended period of time, as you guys know from our last episode, and I was looking for something to sink my teeth into. Xenoblade had just come out. It's the newest, hottest RPG. I watched a single video review on it from IGN, and I said, you know what? I think I can get into this, and goddamn was I right. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is my fucking game of the year right now. I don't know if anything can dethrone it. I like it more than Elden Ring. I like it more than Pokemon Legends. I like it more than Kirby. It is the most absorbed in a JRPG that I have been in since Final Fantasy VII Remake, and from before that, Dragon Quest XI. Before that, maybe Final Fantasy 15. I adore this video game. I really am going to struggle to make it known how much I like it, I feel like. And what I really want to challenge you to do is to kind of interview me about this game, if you can. Ask some leading questions, because I have a lot to say about it, and I don't want to ramble on for too long. But let me do like a little bit of table setting. The first thing that I'll say is that Nintendo Directs as of late, specifically the Nintendo Directs that are focused on a single game, have been really, really impressive as far as showing you what their new game has to offer. And there's a 25-minute Nintendo Direct where if you were on the fence about Xenoblade Chronicles 3, if you're wondering if this is the game for you, it takes a long time, 25 minutes in fact, to really dig into everything that this game has to offer. The battle system, the story, the way that everything works. It is a extremely impressive summary of what this game has to offer, all packed into one little show. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about like the story of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and keep in mind that I don't have experience with the previous two. What's nice about these games is that they are very much in the same vein as like a Dragon Quest or a Final Fantasy. They don't have like a completely like narrative that's dependent completely on the previous game, although apparently there are tie-ins towards the end. Nothing was lost on me as an individual playing this one for the first time. I played it obviously ad nauseum and was not lost, or did I feel like anything was like detracted from my experience just playing this third one. The story is super engaging. You play in a world where essentially there are two factions, two armies, the Kevis and the Agnes. You play as a group of 3 kids from the Kevis region who are in eternal warfare with the Agnes region. The hook of this game is that all of the characters that you play as that are in this world have a life expectancy, or not even a life expectancy. Their lives are only 10 years. So you go from being 14 years old to 24 years old. At 24 years old, you either already died or you're sent off, kind of similar to the way that Yuna sends people in Final Fantasy X, if you're familiar with that concept. She kind of does like a little dance and like sends their souls into like the afterlife or whatever. So you play as these characters that are basically born and bred just in existence to be soldiers and to fight. And things are kind of thrown for a loop when you take your 3 characters. This is minor spoilers that are all disclosed in the Nintendo Direct that explains the game that you stumble upon within the first 3 hours of the game. You take your 3 main characters, you travel to this mission, you meet 3 characters that kind of seem like the yin to your yang at this location while you're on this mission. And the whole world is thrown upside down when they meet a soldier from neither of their factions, the Kevis or the Agnes, and that person appears to be visually in their like 50s. These are people that don't have a concept of growing old whatsoever, because everyone that they've ever known has been a maximum of 24 years old. So they see a guy with wrinkles and facial hair, and it throws the fucking game into hyperdrive.
Yeah.
Outside of that, wild shit starts to happen. What were you gonna say?
Well, I was just gonna give you some trivia on this game.
Sure.
So do you think, you know, they're okay? How am I gonna phrase this? Their voice actors are British. Do you know why they're British?
I think it's a European studio, Monolith Soft, that develops the games.
Yeah. So originally, whenever it was going to be localized, it's a Japanese studio.
Yeah.
But when it was going to be
Okay.
localized, it was cheaper to localize it in England than in like America. It was cheaper to get like English voice talents. So they ended up localizing it in British accents, and it just kind of stuck. So they kept the British accents throughout the series, which, you know, is cool and all, I guess. But do you think these characters are crying for the queen right now?
Most definitely. They're at least crying for their queens, because the queens of the game are a big deal of each of the individual things. What's really interesting about this series in general is, like, if you know anything about the Xeno series, they are loosely connected. So it started with Xenogears, which was originally developed as Final Fantasy VII.
Final Fantasy
VII,
Xenogears
was developed as this game, and they said it's too far off, make it its own thing. And Xenogears came out and was wildly popular. And there was a big thing about what to do next. They ended up developing Xenosaga for a different developer, no longer published by Square Enix. Xenosaga ran 3 games. There was anime based off of it. It was like a PS2 franchise that had kind of, honestly, like mixed results. Again, that's a spiritual successor to Xenogears. Xenosaga ends, Monolith Soft is picked up by Nintendo as a first-party developer, and they start the Xenoblade franchise. The original Xenoblade Chronicles came out for the Wii in Japan and in Europe, as you were saying, and it actually didn't come to America until nearly like a year and a half later, when it was eventually ported over via like a fan outcry. Please bring this awesome video game to us. And they did, and it was a huge hit, which has of course spawned Xenoblade Chronicles X, which is kind of like a side story, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which came to Switch day and date, along with the Japanese and the European version, and then they did a definitive version of the Wii game for the Switch, and now we have Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Good piece of trivia.
Yeah, I do love the, aside from Xenoblade Chronicles X, the like parody and the box art between 1, 2, and 3. Where it is just like this small guy standing on a giant like grassy hill with some like mech in the background or something.
Yeah, it's actually a very cool like world that they set up. All the worlds are very like distinct. You look at them and like, I think we did like a GameList Reacts for the Nintendo event that debuted this game. They closed it out with this, and we both kind of poo-pooed at it. But if there's anything that you can say for it, is that once this game kind of started to show what it was for Xenoblade Chronicles 3 before the title came up, both of us were able to say that's Xenoblade 3 just by looking at the environment. The game takes place on, the whole world that you see is on the back of like a giant animal or mech, basically.
Okay.
So everything that you're seeing is like an actual living being. or a being
Okay.
that's like frozen in time, and there's like smaller, still gigantic beings that live on this thing's back, and there's like the little people basically that are in existence on them.
So, is this like a open world or is it like an open area game?
Very much well, I guess they're open areas, but there's like one interconnecting world with different areas in it. They are absolutely massive, huge emphasis on exploration. Think like, I guess you could kind of compare it to like Breath of the Wild. The traversal's a little bit different. You're not really like go anywhere, do anything. The world is gated off in verticality more than like
Okay.
horizontal orientation. There's a lot of like looking at your map, and you'll see like, okay, I'm on the spot, but it's either on this ledge above me, on this cliff way the fuck up there, or on this bridge that's even higher up. And the way that you explore more of the world is by unlocking new traversal abilities. So it could be like climbing vines, or jumping on a geyser, or, you know, different ways that you can basically traverse and access these new areas. Really cool way of doing it too, and the worlds are a spectacle. For the Switch even, it looks fantastic.
So, Xenoblade 2, I played a little bit of it. I wasn't a huge fan of the combat because it's kind of like combo based.
Yeah,
Almost. It's very odd combat, like something
it
I'm not
is.
very
It took
familiar
a
with.
second for me to figure it out. I was a little turned off by it until it clicked. So the way that the combat works is it's a action RPG. It's not turn-based, so when you fight an enemy, the action just kind of starts, and then if you get in within range, you are auto-attacking. Your character is automatically smashing them with your weapon. And then the combat is based around your abilities, which you'll have, I think, 7 or 8 of them that are mapped to both the D-pad and your face buttons, and it revolves around chaining attacks and canceling auto attacks. So essentially what you end up in is like this little, like, it almost feels like a rhythm game, like a balance, where you're paying attention to your character's animation, and as soon as they swing the sword and make contact, you want to cast one of your abilities, and then when that ability hits, you want to cast your next ability. So you end up in this really nice flow of like, you're hitting like A, Y, down on the D-pad, X, right on the D-pad, up on the D-pad. So as things like finish, you're sort of like in this flow state of smashing these attacks together, and it makes for some really satisfying combos. The battle system ended up being one of the most engaging RPG battle systems that I've ever fucking experienced. I absolutely adored it.
Okay.
Really, really cool.
And then, oh, God, I just went blank on my last question. I had it, and then it's
That's
gone.
okay. I guess the thing that I kind of want to close with is that it is anime bullshit, and it is a gigantic, like, sprawling RPG. Like, it is thoroughly massive in scale, and I did a lot of side questing until the side quests kind of burnt me out. There are quite literally hundreds of hours that you can sink into this game if you so desire, but I ended up doing like side quests until they were overwhelming, and then kind of just mashed the MSQ until it was all finished, main story quest. So I got it done a lot faster than most do. I think a lot of people credit this as about a 100-hour game. I got it done in just around 55, 60. And that's by basically ignoring and just kind of grinding. There were like a couple things that stopped me. It was the first time that I tried to do side quests, and the side quests punish you a little bit. If you end up over leveled, you won't gain experience from fights in the main story quests, so you'll be kind of like resigned to doing side quests so that you can kind of continue progression for each of the characters. One of the things that I want to mention that just from like a JRPG standpoint that was super impressive about this game is that everything that happens in like a JRPG that you'd expect has an in-game reasoning for how it works. What it does, I think, very uniquely to Xenoblade, and that I haven't really seen done in other games, is the way that like the class systems and the party systems work. So you have like a, you know, an eye chip thing. This is why you like see the world. It's like your UI basically, and all of the characters when they start, they can view each other, and you'll see like a sword above the main character's head, Noah, and he's like a warrior class. Then you'll see a gun over somebody else's head, and they're the gunner class. And then the way that you unlock classes is by recruiting a 7th party member. So you have 6 that are static all the time, and then there's, I believe, 30 or so additional characters that you recruit. They're called your hero character, and what happens is you'll recruit this character, and that character will come in with a brand new class and a cool fucking outfit, right? And then the more that you spend time with these characters, the little bar on their UI will fill up. So as long as your characters are fighting alongside this hero character, eventually as they see this character fight, they'll unlock that class for themselves, including that outfit. So it starts to lend this, like, obviously it's fun to get new party members and new characters, but it started to lead to this thing, like, by the time I got the third or fourth and I realized how this system worked, I was so fucking amped every time I saw someone show up with like a dope sword or like a cool outfit. I was like, oh, I'm getting this shit, this is gonna be, you know, Lance's new role, no doubt about it. Made for such a satisfying, like, breadcrumb trail the further you got into the game. Every time you'd meet a new character, you would get super amped off of, like, what's coming next for your core party. Just does a really good job of all those sorts of, like, things that you would see as, like, tropes in standard JRPGs and feeding it into the world and making it feel like a natural progression. Like, it makes sense that if you saw this person fight with a bow staff for long enough, you would sort of understand those moves, and eventually you would be able to become skilled with the bow staff if you did that for long enough. The coolest part about it that I'm not talking about yet, that I just want to mention, is this Ouroboros thing. It's like their word for it. This game adds this, like, Pacific Rim style thing. I talked about it earlier in the show when we were talking about Fire Emblem. Remember we talked about, like, the team-ups that are happening? So basically all of your characters, your 6 characters, they all sort of have, like, a counterpart. They were 3 and 3 from the two things, the two, like, countries. Those characters can team up with one another and basically create, like, a mech. Think, like, have you ever seen Pacific Rim?
Yeah.
You know how they do, like, a mind link thing and they hop into the mech and they control it together? Yeah. It's that, but there's 3 sets of them. So at any point in the battle, once you, like, fill up the gauge, you can transform into this mech and 2 characters become one and they become this overpowered fucking nightmare killing machine that you control the same way. It's not like a summon like Final Fantasy. It's you actually hop into this mech and you get a whole brand new moveset with your face buttons and you're rattling off commands in the same way as you fight. Super fucking satisfying. Just a very cool video game.
And one last thing, I sent you a picture on Discord one time, and it was of the UI of this game.
Yeah,
that is what tipped me over the edge of I'm not interested.
Really good question.
How is that managed in game?
So it does have a pretty busy UI, but that UI is only for the battle sections of the game, and a lot of it is, so when you're actually running around, you do have a very clear view of everything around you. I think it's hindered a little bit by the fact that it's also a Switch game, so that the UI is sort of made to be working in handheld mode or in, like, full display mode. But a lot of what you see on the screen, and when you sent me that picture of, like, the overwhelming UI, you can see a lot of it in the trailers still. It's there, but it's all hooked basically to triggers, to, like, hot commands. So you'll have to hold down one of the triggers to bring up that menu, and that will allow you to select whatever, like, arts you're using at that time, which is, like, your special moves. When you're in the overworld, generally, it's a pretty clear thing. You'll just have your status on the top left and your minimap on the top right. But as you progress through the game, you'll kind of get better and better at using those, like, trigger commands, so they won't be up as much. You'll kind of just be, like, pressing that trigger, and your muscle memory will be like, it's hold L2 and press X will be the move that I want to do right now, and then you'll release that. You won't see it for as long. So,
you know,
truly
the combat, the combat in this game kind of sounds a lot like the combat in Tales of Arise, and the way it works out. So I'd be interested if you ever played that.
Yeah,
how they related.
I remember when we talked about it, you were like, I don't know if I can get into it. I just played Tales of Arise, and it sounds like the same thing, where it's like 2 warring kingdoms. And the best thing that I can say about it without going into, like, spoiler territory is that the places that the story goes are fucking wild. A real, like, out there sci-fi high fantasy shit that's happening, and the surface conflict that the game opens with, and that I just went through, like, explaining to you about, like, these 2 kingdoms and these warring factions, is very much not the, like, catalyst of what moves the game forward. It's not a spoiler. It's what Nintendo talked about as far as, like, these 2 clashing. Once they realize that there are people that are older than them, and that perhaps these 2 kingdoms are not what they seem, it's kind of unraveling that mystery that propels the game forward.
It's pretty funny because that's almost exactly what happens in Tales of Arise. I'm sure they go extremely different places, but yeah, it's the anime thing of here's the setup and here's something that's going to absolutely blow your mind to follow through with.
Yeah, so it does that, but it also does a really great job of, like, there were a few times where it very deliberately will, like, dangle something in front of you, and the game on multiple occasions made me feel like I was outsmarting it, and I was like, oh, I know where they're going with this. They're gonna have It's going to be the twist where this happens, and then that twist doesn't happen, and they wanted you to think that that was the twist that was coming, and it's a very left field fucking twist. The game's story is a legitimate 10 out of 10, and the game itself is a 10 out of 10 for me. Like, all the sum of its parts make it a very perfect game, but it also, a lot of those parts are individually incredible as well.
You don't watch much anime, do you?
I don't watch any anime.
Okay, that explains it. That's what anime is.
Maybe I just became
what
a
anime
secret
is.
anime fan, but
yeah, I mean, literally, that's what anime is you are like, okay, this is what it is. I've got it figured out. Oh, dang, what just happened? I don't have it figured out anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, now I do. Nope, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. I get it. Maybe
like
I need to play
anime.
some more of that kind of stuff and start watching it, because I loved Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And
Yeah.
I wanted to spend ample time on it because this is a show about our game of the year list, one game at a time, 1 month at a time, over the year. And I think that I owe it its due. You know, we spent an hour talking about Elden Ring, which was at the top of my list, or in the top 3 basically. And Xenoblade, I know, is not something that you may end up checking out by the end of the year. And I wanted to make sure that it got its due on the show, because I am extremely passionate about that game, and it is no joking matter, not pulling any punches or anything like that. It's my game of the year, and it's the most fun I've had with a game since 7 Remake in 2020. So
I can't help but feel a little offended because we played Elden Ring together.
I know. I had a great time. Elden Ring is a phenomenal video game, but it's no Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Name me one Welsh cat girl that exists in Elden Ring, and I'll change my mind.
Oh, I do love cat girls.
Well, there's 2 in this, so got him. I adore it. Xenoblade 3, baby. I can't wait for Xenoblade 4 or whatever comes next. The next thing that they're going to end up doing is Xenoblade Chronicles 2 came out, and then there was a DLC expansion that doubled as a standalone prequel game as well, which is super exciting. So I'm assuming the DLC for this will follow suit, where there'll be a standalone adventure that you can have in the near future.
Actually, in the Nintendo Direct, they announced a new character coming.
They
to
did. A
Xenoblade
little
3.
bug girl is coming, and
Yeah,
more
like
importantly, they announced bathing suits for the whole squad.
Whoa, they had that in Tales of Arise too.
Oh, anime going anime.
Anime
All
is
right.
great, dude.
All right, that's Xenoblade. That's my Xenoblade rant. Please, if it is like at all
Dude, the
something
sun
that
is coming
interests
up.
you,
Oh my god.
if it's at all something that interests you, play Xenoblade Chronicles 3. If any of that sounded appealing, you gotta get in. It's fucking awesome. It's awesome. All right, you been playing Rollerdrome?
I played the trial of Rollerdrome.
Count it. I haven't even checked it
so-
out, and this was something that was hugely on my radar. What's the deal? Is it sweet?
It's pretty fun. I think you'll like it more than me because you like Tony Hawk.
I do like Tony Hawk.
It's Tony Hawk with guns, and you can't.
You're saying the right thing.
You can't fail. Like, if you do a trick, you're gonna land it no matter what. It just automatically kind of realigns you.
Mhm.
So there's no like penalty for trying too hard in this game. The worst that can happen is you jump off the map or you get shot by one of the things that you're fighting. But it's a really fun game. My trial was only 30 minutes, and I made it about, I'd say probably a fifth of the way through the game, just based on like the level select area.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's a shorter game, but it's got a lot of like mastery to it. So you go
it's
into
got
a level.
killer style to it.
Absolutely, and the fun thing is, I think that my favorite thing about this game, it's like a gig, one single gig, like it is tiny, but you're pretty much it's like a post-apocalyptic. I don't want to say post-apocalyptic. It's I don't know. It's like a dystopian. Yeah, dystopian is a better word for it. Where you're competing in sport of killing other people in this Rollerdrome. And you're just working your way to the top, trying to win like the championship.
Nice.
I really want you to play it to see how you feel about it. I have not bought the full game yet. I don't know if I will, because the controls were a little hard for me to get in my, in the 35 minutes I spent with it, I couldn't quite get a handle on the controls. But I've also never played a Tony Hawk game, so it might come more naturally to you.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the controls are. I will definitely be checking out this game by the end of the year, no doubt. Just one of the ones that I missed while I was on vacation. Doesn't have a Switch version, so I didn't have the ability to play it. And I was like, I
Yeah.
guess a little sunk into Xenoblade or whatever.
Yeah, it's also true.
Nice.
Also
It
true.
sounds like it's worth checking out, and I'm excited to do
Yeah.
so.
It's very good.
I've been playing Tinykin. You have any idea what this video game is?
It's like a Pikmin game, yeah.
Kinda, yeah. Definitely, it is kind of like a Pikmin game, and that's the best way to sort of like explain what Tinykin is. The thing that it's different about is like I would say Pikmin is more of like a puzzle strategy game, and this is more of like a puzzle platformer. There's no time limit or anything like that. It's very much just like an open world. There's no enemies to fight or anything like that. The only way that you can die is if you like jump off of a high point, but even then you can break your fall with like a glide type button. It is a very just video game video game. You are a tiny person in a big world. You're using these little aliens that you collect to solve puzzles and traverse the world, unlock secrets, collect all the stuff. It is just a satisfying game. I only got through the first world of like, I think if I were to guess, probably 5 or 6 worlds. It's got a little bit of a hub area. The time that I spent in it was so fun that I 100%ed the first world, which is why I probably put more time into it than it feels like. It is just one of those games where all the collectibles just make a lot of sense, and the more that you open things up, the more that you like them. They're really big individual worlds, which is fun. What ends up happening is like you're dumped into this gigantic environment. The first one is like a bedroom, basically. And you look around and there's like collectibles as far as the eye can see. There's so much to do, it's almost overwhelming. And by the time you're done slowly expanding this level and opening up cupboards and getting under things, you start to like know the environment really well. You've gone through the same places multiple times, but each time with different layers and new things opened and new abilities. It's just got a really nice sense of discovery, to the point of like, as I wrapped up the level, I just knew I was like, we gotta check under the bed and over the chair, and then the plant in the back left section is all stuff that we need to check off. Tinykin is a nearly perfect little video game, and I know it sounds wild. It's also going to make my fucking GOTY list. As of right now, I mean, it could slide down depending on how Sonic and God of War and all these other games are, but as of right now, it's sitting somewhere in that top 10. Loving Tinykin.
Yeah.
High recommendation. If you like puzzle platformers
cute.
at all, really good. And also on Game Pass, which is great. Nice to have.
Very cute.
All right. It's your big moment. You've been alluding to it for a while now.
Moment. I have.
You have been obsessed with Destiny 2. With
Destiny
2017's Destiny Dons. I don't know what's
man, I mentioned a couple times. Did I mention it on the last podcast? Maybe. I've said it a couple places where it's like, I kind of want to play Destiny 2.
I think you might have said that, yeah.
I think I said it on the last podcast. Or maybe one of the shows that we reacted to. And then there was announcement for Lightfall at Opening Night Live.
Yeah.
And I think at that point
that was at the Microsoft show or something like that.
Was it? Okay, I couldn't remember.
I think it was before that.
Well, it wasn't the Microsoft show because they're owned by Sony.
You're right. It might have been.
I
think it was at Summer Games Fest. It was at Summer Games Fest, I believe. We covered it in a previous episode, and we covered Gamescom this time. So it wasn't in the last month, but they showed off that trailer recently for sure.
I don't remember.
It might have been. So, you know what? It might have been at Gamescom.
I think it was. Be right. I think it was.
Anyway, they announced Lightfall, and it does look fucking sweet. Yeah. I'll show Lightfall trailer as B-roll, as well as the Witch Queen trailer that we're watching right at this moment.
But yeah, so Lightfall trailer comes out, and it's like, ooh, you're in a cyberpunk looking city, or like maybe like a Blade Runner city, lots of neon. And you've got like a new grapple ability, and I'm like, oh man, anything with a grapple is good. I love grapples in any games. And then I was like, well, it is free, so I guess I could download it and play it. Pretty much, this is the reason I haven't played any other game this month. Every second that I have to play games, I'm playing Destiny. I'm obsessed with it. It's such good shooting mechanics. There's such a good sense of progression.
Destiny is smooth.
There's always a bar that you're filling up of some sort, which is just what I love. I love filling up that bar to keep moving on. the social aspects of it, getting in a clan, hopping on at night, and just hopping into a fire team, and just going through the motions, killing stuff, getting some loot, seeing if your loot's any good, doing it all over again, hitting those daily quests.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's just itching that part of my brain that I've never had before in a video game. Like I've played Borderlands, I've played, unfortunately, Outriders.
Yeah.
Both of which are like looter shooters, but this game just does it better, and I don't know how to explain it.
I mean, I think it's because this one's the granddaddy. This is like
the
coming out party of games as a service. I mean, obviously that was kind of more Destiny 1 than Destiny 2, and Destiny 2 has taken the ball and run with it, but it's a time-honored tradition at this point. They've been doing it for a long time. How much do you have an idea of how much of the content that you're playing? Is it new, or is it stuff from the original Destiny 2? How far into the game are you?
So I have currently only bought the Witch Queen DLC, which is the newest one that came out this year, and this current season pass. So more or less, that's what I've been playing for the most part.
Yep.
I'm definitely going to buy all the other expansions. Unfortunately, I literally bought the Witch Queen the day after it went off sale, and I was so mad. I was like, it's not on sale anymore? Are you kidding me? Yeah, so I'm trying my best to wait until the next sale to get the rest of the stuff. But this game is 100% on my Game of the Year list. I hope I stick with this game for good. Like, I want to play this game until Destiny 3 comes out. I'm so excited about the new expansion. I'm trying to get all my friends into it. I got you to play it for a couple hours.
I did hop in. It's still good. It's fun to shoot stuff, man. Destiny has it down. It's Bungie. Good. It's old guard Bungie. It's the guys that did Halo 2, 3, 1, Reach, the best Halos, basically. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a very impressive game, and it still feels fluid to play.
I am amazed that this can come out of one studio. Like, I look at Call of Duty and they've got like 12 studios working on a single game at one point, but this game has so much. Like, it is a beefy game. If you want to play something, there's always going to be something to play. If you get tired of running strikes, you can hop into some PvP, or if you want a little mix of both, you can get some Gambit with some PvE and PvP.
Yep.
There's raids, which I haven't even played a raid yet because I don't have like a fire team of 6 to run a raid with. But it's like I'm working up to get to the point where I can hit a raid, and once I get some people to hit a raid with, I can't wait. I'm obsessed with this game, and I want to keep playing it. And I bring it up in every conversation for the past month.
Do you have anything to say about like the barrier of entry? Any frustrations?
So I think the biggest barrier of entry is just like the overwhelming amount of stuff you're presented with.
Yeah. So that's what it gets knocked for.
With it. Yeah, there's a ton of stuff. And it's a lose-lose situation for them because they vaulted some stuff to lower the barrier of entry, and then they got hate for vaulting stuff, which I understand. They shouldn't have vaulted stuff. And then, there's a lot to it, but if you just kind of keep at it, you'll have it all under control in about a week. They do a nice thing of when you load up the game, if you haven't ever played, or if you haven't played since season 1 or whatever, if you haven't played since Forsaken, then they give you a set of weapons and armor to get you up to speed.
Yeah.
And then you can start grinding out. Yeah, then you can start grinding out for like the cap for this season. Right. So you're not grinding up from 1300 to 1600. You're starting at 1540 and moving up from there.
Yeah. It's one of those games that I think like you kind of need a Sherpa for. You need like a friend that's into it to sort of show you the ropes. Reminds me a lot. I mean, obviously I compare it to Final Fantasy 14 a lot, which is it's a game that benefits from social interaction. Like if you have a friend that's into it that can kind of like explain some things to you, bring you on the right strikes and raids and get you up to snuff and show you what's going on, things that you should be focusing on, you're kind of good to go. But it does leave you to your devices a little bit. So hopping in as an individual player, it can be really overwhelming. And even with me and having you, I felt that burn when I got in there. I was like, fuck, I'm behind. I don't have my gear. I need to grind a bunch of stuff to get to the content that I actually want to play. You haven't even played a raid yet, is that right?
Correct.
you are going to lose yourself in this video game, because I played enough Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 towards the beginning of it. I think the one thing that I'm underselling on GameList so far is the amount of time that I've put into Destiny, which is quite literally hundreds of hours. Destiny 1, I think I had like 200 hours in, and I've got at least 60 into Destiny 2 and the Forsaken expansion, which I played. I grinded my light level up, I played the raids, I did it with 6 people, all on voice comms. It is good gaming, man. It's fun stuff. If you can sink the time into it that's required to get there, it's great. The issue that I have primarily is I play with 4 people a lot of times, and you do need to do a lot of 3-person stuff to get to where you need to go, so it kind of alienates a player or makes you pick and choose, which is really annoying. So it's tough to kind of get to that point with 4 players, but as an individual, if you can get on there and get a couple pickup games going and get some groups.
And, you know, how many weeks have I played this? 2, 3 now?
Something
3.
like
I've played this game for about 3 weeks now. I have checked earlier, 50 hours in it.
Impressive. That's
I've spent
Xenoblade
way too
levels
much
of game time.
Way too much time on this game when I'm needing to like do schoolwork. But it's so fun. There's always something to do. There's always another goal. There's always, like I said, there's always another bar to increase.
You dangle the carrot.
Literally, they're dangling the carrot, and the story is actually really good. I watched like a 3-hour catch up. So ask me any question about Destiny, and I can tell you.
Where's
nothing,
Oryx,
probably.
bro?
Oryx is dead.
Damn.
Dead.
I know. I
but
killed him.
Actually,
I killed him
now,
in the Taken King.
Yeah, the Taken King is a raid that's live right now because they're bringing back Destiny 1 raids, and they're just like looping them, remastering them, and rotating them in and out each season.
Nice.
Yeah, so the Taken King and Vault of Glass are in Destiny 2 right now.
Cool. Oh, Vault of Glass is a classic as well.
Yeah. I can't wait to play those one day, but you know, I got to get my fire team.
Yeah.
It's so hard to convince people to get in.
And from like a game of the year standpoint, the Witch Queen came out this year. Endwalker was my number 3 game of the year last year, and that's just an expansion to a game that came out 10 fucking years ago. So we'll allow it, man. Destiny 2 Witch Queen could very easily be your game of the year, depending on where it lands. So
are we gonna go over our updated list at the end of our playlist?
Yeah, we should, especially with how many changes have really come into it. I think I updated mine, so we're in pretty good shape to do so. You feel wrapped on Destiny?
Yes.
Tell people to play it.
Play it, people. Play it with me. I need a fire team. I need people to raid with.
You heard it here first. You can play with Kaulin himself. Just you comment your battle tag, your Bungie.net tag. Oh, can I just talk about how crazy my fucking saga of like what my Destiny account has been through?
Yeah.
It's so wild. Like Destiny started off, I played it on Xbox Live, and then I had to transfer that to a PC account, which eventually transferred into a Battle.net account because it was owned by Activision Blizzard for a long time, at which point I then had to transfer that account into a Steam download of it maybe a couple years ago once it was released from the Battle.net launcher, and then since then they've updated it to Bungie tags, so when I started I had to transfer my account one last time. I've lost nothing. All my stuff from my original Destiny 2 playthrough is sitting there, mind you, obsolete, but it survived.
You can always upgrade it, you know.
That's true.
You know, they've added a lot of things. You can upgrade, you can craft weapons now, you can oh god, there's so much that has been added to this game. You can transmog now. The shaders are no longer one-time use, they're infinite use shaders. I don't know why they ever made that a thing in the first place,
but it's cool to paint my guy.
Yeah, one thing it's like one thing I really enjoy about this game is it has probably the best companion app of any video game.
You read all your lore on it?
Well, yeah, but the companion app, if I'm flying around in space or whatever, and I need to pick up some bounties, but I don't feel like swinging by the tower, I can just pull up the app and acquire bounties from the app. And there are all sorts of other apps that you can log into and manage your inventory while you're away. There are apps that will tell you like what's a good roll or what's a bad roll on a gun. There's just so many integrations into this game to make it easier and to elevate your play.
Hell yeah.
I love it.
Destiny 2, baby. I've been playing Disney Dreamlight Valley. A lot. A lot. If you're not sure what this is it's somewhere in between Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing, starring Disney characters. It's technically free to play, but right now it's in early access that you can only access via a Founders Pack. You do get the cheapest Founders Pack for free through Game Pass. So, technically free to play, just not really right now.
Yeah, on Switch it's $30 to play.
Nice. So yeah, you get the $30 version for free if you play on Game Pass, and that transfers between consoles as well. So in theory, you could claim the Game Pass version of the game, then when it launches free to play, you could cloud save and pick up your $30 worth of stuff on Switch in the future, which is kind of cool. But the game is sound. I think a lot of people were worried about this thing being a little bit of a free-to-play train wreck. It's developed by Gameloft, who is a noted
really?
Mobile game developer, a little cash hungry for sure. But
yeah.
So far, it's been really, really good. Very few bars of like time gated content outside of growing crops like you would expect in a standard Animal Crossing game. It hasn't been money hungry or anything like that for me. By all means, once this thing is free, there's going to be hours and hours of content to enjoy for $0. I've spent 0 of my in-game dollars so far that they gave me for free, and I've played it for 25 plus hours. It is extremely, extremely fun. It's got the satisfying gameplay loop that you'd expect from an Animal Crossing game, where there's a great amount of stuff that you can do on a daily basis, and that stuff refreshes as time goes on. But then there's also quite a bit that you can do from like a on time, anytime gameplay perspective as well, missions that you can accomplish and stuff like that. There's been some bugs and things that they're still kind of working out. It is definitely an early access game. It got its first big patch today, which had some bug fixes. I ran into some not game breaking, but like soft lock quest bugs, where I picked up an item too early that was required for a quest, and then I couldn't complete that quest because I couldn't get the check mark for picking up the item because it was always in my inventory. There's been similar things that people have been running into, where like a quest item will drop, but it'll drop between furniture in a character's house, and they just can't physically press the button.
They can't reach it,
pick it up. Yeah, so some nightmarish things like that, but overall a very, very sound video game. I can't sing its praises enough. I feel like I don't have enough to say about it with how much that I like it though. But it was a gimme for me. You guys know I'm a Kingdom Hearts boy. I like my Disney characters. It's just nice hanging out with Donald and Goofy and seeing my homies do well. You've got Little Mermaid characters in there. You have Moana characters in there. You've got Sword in the Stone characters. They announced at D23 the Toy Story stuff is coming. Scar from Lion King is coming. Wall-E is in that thing. It is just a really fun and pleasant video game experience, and the barrier of entry is extremely low if you want to check it out. It's got a lot of features and a lot to do.
Can you say Wall-E again?
Wall-E.
Okay.
What did you hear?
I don't know. You said you said it, I guess technically correct, but you made like Wall-E instead of Wall-E.
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 Wall-E is in there?
Wall-E.
I think I said Wall-E is in there.
Wall-E.
Yeah, there's no wrong way to say Wall-E. Wall-E.
Wall-E. Wall-E is the incorrect way to say
Dreamlight
it.
Valley's good. It's on my Game of the Year list. Spoiler alert.
Whoa, really?
Spoiler alert. All right. You know what we need to do? We need to create a game list like graphic, to be quite honest. Like something that we can post up on the YouTube version of this so that people can get a visual aid for where we're at with our Game of the Year list. We don't have that right now, so we'll do it verbally. Colin,
yeah,
what's your Game of the Year?
Well, my Game of the Year has not changed. It is still Elden Ring.
Mine is now Xenoblade Chronicles 3 with Pokemon Legends Arceus coming up next. Where are you at for your number 2?
Also still Horizon Forbidden West.
Fair.
Very good.
Fair. Elden Ring comes in at number 3 for me. Where are you at for number 3?
A little indie game called Citizen Sleeper.
If you missed it, talked about that at length last episode. For number 4 and 5, I've got Shredder's Revenge, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, which I adore, and Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which we touched upon a little bit in this episode. Where are you at for 4 and 5?
My 4 is Destiny 2.
Wild. 2017's Destiny 2. No, I'm just kidding.
Insane. And 5 is Cult of the Lamb.
Nice.
by Massive Monster.
Nice. I'll rattle off the rest of my list, 6 through 10. Tinykin, then Dreamlight Valley, Live Alive, Switch Sports, and Mario Strikers Battle League.
So what did you demote this week, I guess?
The only thing is I didn't have like a full list. I kind of had a couple honorable mentions basically, and then 2 of them fell off the end of my list that were sitting in like the 7th and 8th spots, and that's Rogue Legacy 2 and Lego Star Wars are no longer on my list.
Okay. So my 6 through 10, 6 is Lego Star Wars,
Yep.
7 is Ghostwire Tokyo,
Oh
8
yeah.
is Strangers of Paradise, 9 is Dying Light 2, and 10 is Stray. And this week I knocked off
Yep.
The Quarry to add
Ooh.
Destiny 2.
Ooh, tough time. Any other honorable mentions that you want to throw in there?
I moved The Quarry to honorable mentions.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, if you've been keeping up throughout the year, my Game of the Year list has slowly just shoved things into my honorable mentions.
Yeah.
So we can go over those more at the end of the year.
Yeah, definitely. The only other thing that like I should mention is like I have a couple misses that I really want to throw into mine, like things that I plan on checking out by the end of the year. Sifu is up at the top of that list for me. I really want to give Sifu some time. They announced that in the direct.
Coming out on
like
Switch, man.
dog shit. It looked like dog shit.
It looks so
There
bad.
were a couple beefy looking ports coming to the Switch. Primarily, Sifu looked fucking terrible. It Takes Two. Yeah, it was a really big struggle. And then there was one other one, I can't remember it off the top of my head, that just was not looking great. I need to check out Horizon Forbidden West. I do. I owe that game some time, even though I know it's not going to make my Game of the Year list. That's the lowest on the list. Stranger of Paradise. I can't believe I didn't check it out, but I will. Any
You're gonna
big
need
misses that you...
Ooh, my big miss is right now is probably Live Alive.
Yeah.
Other games that I haven't played are Pokemon Legends Arceus and Kirby, both of which I probably won't play.
I would say at this point, if you've missed Legends Arceus, as much as it pains me, probably Scarlet and Violet would be their better move.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've talked about it a couple times, I think, on this podcast about like how passionate I am about Legends Arceus for what it did for the Pokemon series, and I just feel bad that most Game of the Year lists are going to really overshadow that game because I think Scarlet and Violet are going to come out and be more complete packages, but the amount that they're going to take from Legends Arceus, the base that Legends built, I think is really important to note in video game history. I think that's going to be a turning point for Pokemon for the future. So I think a lot of the success of Scarlet and Violet will be owed to the gem that is Legends Arceus. We'll see.
Yeah.
We shall see. All right. We got a little bit more news to cover. We got a couple other things that transpired. But first, you want to talk about hardware? We got a couple of hardware reviews.
Hardware!
All right. So let's start with the big boy. You've been playing Steam Deck. Motherfucker, GameList got a Steam Deck. Between the two of us, we have one.
Yeah.
It's Colin's.
GameList.
What's the word, man?
Deck. The word is.
Looks like that fucking thing is big.
Hey, look, you can see my camera.
Whoa.
Focus.
Yeah.
I don't know. My video quality is dropping out.
That's okay.
The word is. I haven't played a single game on it yet. I've had it for like a week.
What the fuck? Dude. All right, our sweet announcement. We got a Steam Deck now, but we'll give you full impressions on it next month. Oh, you also got a backbone.
I also have a backbone. I have my phone in it right now, so you can kind of see it.
Cool.
So
that's your. I saw myself in the backbone for a moment.
Oh, really?
Can we talk about your fucking background, dude? Can you please do something?
Oh, it's a planet. It's Earth.
Come on, man. You got to do better. Look at my fucking background.
Oh,
Crisis Core Reunion, baby.
Oh wait, you don't have the new iOS update?
No, that's gonna make my old phone slower.
No, bro. Look, the new iOS update. Look, you can grab it. Hold on, watch this. I have a text from my mom. So you. Oh,
that's so crazy. Look, I got a text from my dad.
Oh, nice. So you got the new iOS update where you like touch and hold on the screen. It's got to see my face first. You touch and hold on the screen, and you can customize your screens. That's my weather screen. That's Corvo. There's one of Allie. And you can customize your screen, have custom widgets and everything. And you can what is that one? Oh, it's a chipmunk.
Well, there's our review of iOS 16 out now.
Yeah, so you can customize like the font on the clock and everything.
All of those options, and you chose the default Earth.
Yeah, well, you can't see it because the camera sucks right now. But the time is behind Corvo's head because it automatically recognizes what's in focus. Yeah,
the world we're living in.
The backbone's actually.
Feel? Ooh, they're clicky. That's pretty nice. I only heard it for a moment. Now that you're trying, you have to say words at the same time.
Okay, here we go. You can hear the backbone clicky right now. This is the X button. These are the face buttons.
Yeah, now whisper a little bit so it's like ASMR.
The D-pad has no click. It's
You're
very
welcome.
silent. It's like a.
This one's free. The rest is on OnlyFans.
The
/
bumpers,
GameList show.
The bumpers have a slight click, very small click that you can barely hear. It actually has a trigger that has actual pull on it. It's not like the
raise
Switch
your voice.
triggers.
I hate this.
It's not like the Switch triggers where you it's like a button. This one actually has like a pull. You can see the whole thing drop.
Oh, cool.
Kind of like a actual trigger. And then it's really great.
Did you play anything on it yet?
Yeah, so I played Cult of the Lamb like in my bed on this, playing on my PS5. I actually take this to class and I play Destiny between classes. Because I have a break between classes and I can play Destiny on the go on this.
Listen, save some pussy for the rest of us, bro.
Dude, it's wonderful. I want to give you guys a quick size comparison between these three things first. So here's the OLED Switch.
Yep.
You know, most people here know how big a Switch is.
Audio listeners, subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah, so here is...
Oh, very comparable. Backbone and Switch.
Yeah, this is the backbone with the iPhone 13 Pro Max.
Oh, that's a big phone.
It's a big phone. But it's about the same size. And then if we take our Switch and compare it to the Steam Deck, this is where things get a little crazy. Because here's the OLED Switch.
Oh, yeah.
And here's the Steam Deck.
That's a beef boy.
A massive beefy boy. Hey, look, you can see Jake twice. 3 times right now on screen.
Pretty good. This is an exclusive.
But yeah, so I haven't played anything on the Steam Deck yet. Most of that comes down to the fact that I am really busy in school, and in any free time that I get, I've been playing Destiny.
We'll get there.
So I will get to it. I'm researching right now how to dual boot Windows 10 on it, so I can play Destiny on it, because Destiny is currently not supported on the Steam Deck because so the Steam Deck is run on a Linux-based operating system, which, if you don't know what Linux is, it's pretty much you've got Mac, Windows, and Linux. This
Linux explanation brought to you by the individual who didn't know what MS-DOS was last month.
Yeah. So this is a very bad explanation of Linux, but it's pretty much just a different operating system for PCs. So the Steam Deck is built on Linux, and it has like the Steam interface that is all built on Linux. So there's a program or like a software in the background called Proton that you can use to play Windows games on a Steam Deck. So that's how like all your Steam games, not all of them, but how most of them are compatible with the Steam Deck. Having that program in between to buffer it to make things work, it actually opens up like a loophole where if you wanted to exploit things, you could. So a lot of multiplayer games aren't going to support Steam Deck right now until they have native Linux support, because people could exploit it and hack things. And in a competitive multiplayer game, you don't want that. So if I could play Destiny 2 on this without... I could use a workaround and play it without installing Windows, but then my Destiny account would get banned. So I'm working on dual booting Windows 11 just so I can have Destiny 2 installed, so I can play Destiny 2 on my Steam Deck.
Dedication, and that's why Destiny 2 is on this Game of the Year list.
Yeah, and that's also why I haven't played that much, is because I want to tinker around with it. I want to add some emulators in there, and I just want to play with it.
Makes sense to me. The mine pale in comparison to Colin's sweet new $1,000 worth of toys. But I grabbed the Hori Switch Pad Pro. Oh my god, I don't know the name of it. The Hori Split Pad Pro. Yes, so it's these two little things that replace your Joy-Cons on a handheld Switch. And I grabbed them when I was playing Xenoblade Chronicles. I was traveling and playing in handheld mode only, and the Joy-Cons are fucking tiny.
Uncomfortable.
Sure. Yeah, and this basically gives you like a pro controller feel on your handheld, and I was pleasantly surprised at the quality. These things retail for $50. They are lighter than even a Joy-Con. They don't have the rumble or the gyro option on them, so it's just for like really traditional gaming. But for something like Xenoblade, for like an RPG, they are absolutely essential. It really changed the game for me. It definitely extends the size of the Switch in handheld mode, but if you're looking for something a little bit more comfortable, can't recommend them enough. They really were absolutely incredible. If not just for like the buttons and the triggers and how it feels in your hands, upgrading your control sticks is really what it comes down to. You got a really small radius on the actual Joy-Con, and having like a full thumbstick made a big difference.
See, I really like rumble in my hardware.
Yeah, so but when you're on handheld.
Well, yeah, I do, and you know the backbone actually uses the haptics in your phone.
Oh, that's smart. Rumble. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So what made you go with like the split pad above like a satisfied grip? Was it just because you could walk into a store and grab it while you're on vacation? Or...
Yeah, I just looked up reviews and it seemed like the split pad was like the authority in these things. Reasonably priced, $50 is the right call for how much money I was willing to like spend on just like a standard little controller setup, and I ended up being like really satisfied with them. Really solid.
Yeah, nice.
And the ones that I got has like they're black with like little like red accoutrement, but also the black is like slightly see-through, like the old like Nintendo 64 style like Funtastic controllers, which is always a nice touch for your Nintendo product, like the atomic purple fucking Game Boy Color and all that. The Glacier Game Boy Advance.
I had on the PS2, I had a transparent blue PS2 controller. And I adored it. And when they released a transparent blue for the PS4, and I bought it, never even used it. I just looked at it. And
I wonder, do we have the same one? Is it the 500 million PS4 controller?
Oh no, mine's like a royal blue transparent kind of.
It might be the same one. Double check that it's not the 500 million edition, because there was like a special edition PS4 that came out that was like a translucent blue see-through, a really nice blue, and then there was a matching controller that came out for it too, and they both ended up being really limited. I think that controller is worth like $100 alone, and it's the one that I used primarily for my PS4, and I adore it. It's like the coolest color controller I've ever seen.
Oh no, mine's lighter than this one.
Got it.
Yeah, I know which one. I know. Yeah, I've seen this one. It's a really nice controller.
Yeah, I love that thing. I still have it kicking around here somewhere. It gets used never, but nonetheless.
Yeah, I haven't touched mine.
All right, so outside of the conferences, there was plenty of news that happened over the past couple months, and we obviously covered all the conferences so far, but there are, I would say, two big things that we want to talk about real briefly that I think are worth noting. The first one is I want to talk about the fucking Embracer Group, dude. Wild. These guys are insane. Every time we talk about them, it's a new acquisition. So what I did is I just like went and I wrote some notes. A lot of this is going to be me kind of reading off like a little notepad that I made. But basically the news is that in the last month, Embracer acquired Bitwave, Singtrix, Geotech, Tatsujin, Limited Run Games, yeah, that company, Tripwire, Tuxedo Labs, and Middle-earth Enterprises. Now, Middle-earth Enterprises owns the rights to Lord of the Rings, the books. Doesn't own the rights to the existing adaptions of Lord of the Rings. They didn't buy the Amazon Lord of the Rings show. They didn't buy the Peter Jackson movies. They bought the rights to adapt the Lord of the Ring books in the future to mixed media, whether that's games, movies, memorabilia, Funko Pops, you fucking name it. So Embracer Group, just a little trip down memory lane. These guys kicked off by acquiring Nordic back in the day, which immediately after that they bought up at dirt cheap the rights to THQ. So in that little bundle they created like a small gaming company that had a little bit of brand notoriety, so they became THQ Nordic. The next thing that they grabbed was Koch Media, KOCH Media, which is now PlayOn. PLAION, Play On Games. They just recently rebranded. They grabbed Deep Silver at the same time. So all of a sudden, these guys now own Dead Island, Saints Row, Homefront, Red Faction. They grabbed separately the rights to Kingdoms of Amalur and Time Splitters. They're working on a new Time Splitters game now as we speak. They published and they developed Goat Simulator, Valheim, Biomutant, Destroy All Humans, Wreckfest, Hot Wheels, World War Z, Evil Dead. They're working on Warhammer 40k, Space Marine 2, Deep Rock Galactic, which is still pretty popular and still being developed. In the last year, they've acquired Gearbox, 4A Games, and their Metro IP. And most recently, we talked about them on GameList. They grabbed Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix Montreal off the hands, again, at dirt cheap from Square Enix proper. So they grabbed Tomb Raider, Thief, Legacy of Kain, Deus Ex. These motherfuckers have asserted themselves as a absolute unit. We saw the Koch Media conference this past year where they showed off a couple games that was not very impressive. What I really want to talk about in this is that I don't know if it's next year or the year after, but Embracer is poised to be the next gigantic third-party developer. It is going to be EA, Ubisoft, and Embracer Group is basically what it's become now. They have grabbed enough, they have enough talent at the studios that they've picked up, and they've grabbed up like enough IP and recognizable IP that they're going to be able to start combining all these forces and reallocating people after they finish up their products to become an absolute force in the video game industry via brute force. They have just absolutely gone bonkers in the things that they have picked up, especially with Activision kind of taking their hat out of the ring and probably being acquired by Microsoft. If that goes through, it takes one of the big third-party players out and it opens up the window. I think Embracer Group is here to stay, man. I feel like they've grabbed all of the Infinity Gems now. They just placed that last one into the spot with Lord of the Rings. And now by the time that they are looking at like their 2025 event, they're going to have some shit to show off. It is wild. Wild. I mean, you do a new Lord of the Rings game and you tack that on top of the reboots of Deus Ex, Tomb Raider. You throw in, you know, who knows, maybe a new Hot Wheels game, snag yourself the launch of Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, get Red Faction back on track. You got a conference, baby.
It's a lot. It's a whole lot. I'm curious to see how many sales Saints Row has had.
Probably not many. I bet they've got a number of sales that they are not disclosing because of what that number is.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was thinking. I was just looking it up and I've not seen any numbers on it yet. Yeah. So hopefully they can get some big hits. I mean, I'm definitely more down for third-party acquisitions than I am for first-party acquisitions.
I get that.
Just because, you know, if it's third-party, it's going to be pretty much everywhere.
Just give them some more,
is the best.
Give them some more time. Give them some more power under their belt to create some.
They have the money to get there, so we just got to give them
most certainly
time.
Do. That is certain. We mentioned briefly Microsoft Activision. I just think it's worth bringing up the petty squabbling that's taking place over the last couple of days. The fucking online flame war between Jim Ryan and Phil Spencer. I guess the short version of it. What do you make of all of this? Petty? Does it make sense?
I understand why Jim Ryan. Okay, to lay the groundwork, Jim Ryan pretty much said if. Jim Ryan came out and said, okay, talk to Xbox. Xbox says we only have Call of Duty for 3 more years. And then it's all going to be a Xbox exclusive. And he said, that's not fair. That's going to give them an unfair advantage, blah, blah, blah. Phil Spencer said, no, we didn't say that. What does it matter? Look at all the exclusives you have, pretty much. I think Jim Ryan has a point in what he's saying, but I think it's so hypocritical for him to say that when PlayStation is literally known for their exclusives. Like,
this is the war of about 2027 or 2028's Call of Duty. So the way that it stands right now is Call of Duty existing contract with PlayStation is 3 games. They're counting Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2, which both come out this year. Then there's the rumored unbelievable year off from Call of Duty that's happening next year, which is all but confirmed, where they say we can support Modern Warfare 2 and we can support Warzone 2 for an extra full calendar year. And then in 2024, you'll get a new mainline Call of Duty come October, November, like they usually do. That would be the end of the exclusive deal, or not the exclusive deal, of the deal that they have on the table with Sony. What Phil Spencer offered Jim Ryan publicly was 3 additional years of Call of Duty on PlayStation, which would certify them for 2025, 2026, and 2027, assuming they continue to do this sequentially. At which point, the 2028 and forward Call of Duties will become Microsoft exclusives. And this is not counting the fact that, likely, if all of this went through, immediately all Call of Duties that are existing and playable on Xbox consoles or PC would initially hit Game Pass, and hit Game Pass on day and date as well. So Jim Ryan threw his hands up in the air and said, "That's not fair," which... That's not fair. It's a bad Jim Ryan impression, and I apologize to him, Jim Ryan, friend of the show.
Bro, if Jim listens to this show, Jim, you know I'm a PlayStation guy, but I can't defend you on this. Like,
no, it's... Pay up, man. Pay up, man. That's how exclusives work. I mean, you're not over here putting Last of Us on there, and I get it. It's a third-party acquisition. You don't want to see a big franchise go. I understand, but it's no different than what they've been doing the same thing. I mean, Microsoft didn't throw a fucking hissy fit about Destiny. You know, they're okay. Well, you think Destiny 3 comes out and it's on all platforms? I sure as fuck don't.
I think so. I think it is.
Really?
I think so. Yeah. But my thing is, like, all PlayStation has to do is, like, PlayStation has the ability. They are so good at making new IP and making that new IP a household name.
Yeah.
If they're working on if they're fighting for 2027, 2028, put a FPS shooter into development, give it that Sony first party touch, you've got a new, like, flagship shooter. Like,
yeah, of course.
They have the ability to take down Call of Duty.
Yeah. It's ridiculous, and the fact that it's happening in a public forum has just been honestly laughable.
Yeah.
All right. We've got the longest game list of all time running right now. Let's talk about what is on the horizon for us. It is September. So for PlayStation Plus, you can go grab Need for Speed Heat, Toem, or Grand Blue Fantasy. You ever play Toem? It's like a black and white game where you take pictures of stuff.
I haven't, but I've heard it's great.
Yeah, it's really cool. I only played a couple minutes of it, or I actually didn't even play it myself. I watched a friend play it. Seems really rad. Worth grabbing for free.
Does the world become more colorful as you take pictures?
No, I believe that game is black and white all the way through.
Okay.
Then we have the shit show at the Fuck Factory, games with gold. Nothing much to mention here as usual, but it is worth mentioning that this is the last time that Xbox 360 will get support, and they give you a doozy to go out with. Portal 2.
Yeah.
Portal 2 is
That's
on
fair.
there.
That's a good game. That's the first good game they've had in 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Outside of that, Thrillville on the original Xbox, which is backwards compatible. Double Kick Heroes and Gods Will Fall, maybe? Who cares? Again,
Dude, I don't know.
Very
I
poor.
feel like Gods Will Fall is a VR game, but there's no way it's a VR game.
Not on Xbox.
It's on Xbox.
Not happening. And then we have releases for the rest of the month. Today is the 15th of September, and there are 2 decently sized games that came out today. Metal Hellsinger, which is the rhythm-based action shooter that is... I don't know. It's really interesting. I'm going to play this game. I don't like metal music at all, but I love rhythm games. I was interested when I saw this thing played last time. Do you have any thoughts on Metal Hellsinger?
I'm also not a metal guy, but I do like Doom.
Yeah.
And it's literally just Doom with music.
It's on Game Pass.
I do not have Game Pass.
You're a fool. Best value in gaming. Outer Wilds came out today. Highly recommended. You need not hear us talk about Outer Wilds and how much we love it any longer. We have the GameList spoil list up on YouTube and in your podcast app if you so desire to hear our thoughts on that game. It is as good as it fucking gets. A perfect video game. Go play it. Immediately.
Right now.
Coming out on September 19th is Return to Monkey Island. If you have criticism, make it about something other than the art style. That is subjective.
I think the art style is great.
Yeah, I mean, some people like it, some people hate it. It seems to be the only thing that people want to talk about. Do you ever play the original Slime Rancher?
I have not.
People say it's one of the most relaxing and lovely games ever created. I played it for like 15 minutes and I didn't agree. But the sequel comes out on the 22nd, and you can play it on Game Pass or on other consoles for money, which is pretty rad.
Money!
Speaking of Square Enix pumping out video games, they've got a pair of them for you. Diofield Chronicle, which has a demo available now, is coming out on the 22nd. And then a pretty interesting one, which is Valkyrie Elysium, comes out on the 29th. And Valkyrie Elysium is a sequel to Valkyrie Profile. Valkyrie Profile Lenneth is a remake of Valkyrie Profile that came out for either the PSP or the PS Vita. That game is also being ported to consoles and is available separately or in the deluxe edition of Valkyrie Elysium. So the pair of those come out on September 29th. I think I might just pick up Valkyrie Profile Lenneth and give it a go. It seems up my alley.
I'm thinking about picking up Valkyrie Elysium, but if I'm being honest with you, I think I'm probably going to be behind on games until December because I'm going to be playing Destiny.
It does feel that way. Also on the 29th is Moonbreaker. What were you going to say?
No, I forgot that Moonbreaker was coming out this month.
Yeah.
I'll continue after we...
Moonbreaker, last game of the month. No big deal for Kaulin and I, but for a lot of gamers out there, the biggest game of the year, FIFA 23, comes out on September 30th.
Yeah.
Wild.
I did forget to mention and put in like our thing to talk about this episode. I played the Forza Horizon 5 Hot Wheels DLC.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I played a little bit of that as well.
It is so good.
It is fun. I was surprised at how much they added to that game. It's got like a whole like gravity system that was implemented, and the whole thing takes place above the Horizon Island. It was a pretty impressive little package.
Very good. You should play more of it.
Yeah, I think I will. I played just a couple races. I played it on cloud gaming while I was gone because I had my laptop and a controller that I could use for it, and it didn't run that great. And I thought to myself, you know what? When I come home, I'm gonna actually play this fucker for real. And I haven't done it yet, but I bet that's gonna look fantastic in 4K as well.
It does. It looks wonderful on my OLED.
Yep. Forza Horizon 5 celebrating 10 years of Forza today, by the way.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's new DLC coming out for it. A little bit. So. All right, we got some stuff coming up, that's for sure. Today kicked off Tokyo Game Show. Spoiler alert, we already had an action-packed episode, so we left out the announcements from today. There was already a Capcom presentation and a Microsoft presentation. There's some pretty cool stuff that we'll cover for news next time. Deathloop is hitting Game Pass on September 20th.
With an update, an extended ending, thank God, because that ending was the worst part of the game.
Yeah, pretty cool. There's a couple other games coming to Game Pass as well, including Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is pretty big. Capcom announced a Resident Evil event for next month, and they also showed off a lot of Street Fighter. They announced Ken. They announced E-Honda. Do you know who Ken is?
Is he from Smash Bros?
Yeah. He's from Street Fighter.
He's a guy from Smash Bros, dude.
He's the blonde babe from Street Fighter. Ryu's like rival. He wears red. Ryu wears white. He's got blonde hair. They fight. Hadouken.
Is he the guy that is the boxer? No, that's Lil Mac. That's Lil
Mac's the boxer. Ken's a karate fighter.
Lil Mac is from Punch-Out, right?
Lil Mac is from Punch-Out. Do you know who Dhalsim is? No. Yoga Flame. The stretchy arms.
Yoga Flame?
Okay. E-Honda.
Fantastic.
Thousand hand slap.
Nope. I do not know that.
Okay. Do you know who Blanca is?
Is it a girl?
No. It's a green monster man with orange hair.
Really?
You've seen him.
You're kidding.
Google Blanca right now.
Blanca is a girl's name.
Blanca is a green monster's name. Blanca Street
Is it B-L-O-N-C-A?
B-L-A-N-K-A. Blanca.
B-L-A-N-K-A. Oh yeah, he was in Fortnite.
Blanca.
It's a guy from Fortnite.
Oh my fucking god! And that's gonna do it for GameList. I'm Jake twitching without the G on all social media platforms: Instagram,
everywhere,
Twitter, primarily YouTube. I've been posting all my VODs there, and they've been doing pretty well. All my reactions and whatnot as well. And Twitch, which is where I'm primarily hanging out. Kaulin, give them your plugs.
I am Kaulin _ pretty much everywhere. K-A-U-L-I-N-E.
Hell
come check me out. I post not funny things on Twitter. I post my opinions on Twitter. That's what Twitter's for, right?
What a sell. And we are GameList Show on all platforms as well. For our sign-off this week, Kaulin is going to make the sound that he thinks Blanca makes. Ready, set, go.
Oh yeah!
Not bad.